Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Wise Guys. BYU beats Baylor in double overtime. They're number 12 in the country. Are you kidding me right now? This is the real stuff.
I'm not kidding you.
Man.
And that game felt like a game between two top 10 teams.
Yeah.
Had that kind of intensity, that kind of physicality, where just everything you got, you had to work for because those defenses were so good. That's what big-time football looks like. And the stadium was big time. And the fans were big time. And the
audience was big time. 2.4 million on Saturday night. That's the biggest late-night audience for ESPN for a football game or anything else in 6 years.
Yeah, it's awesome. And think about it. During COVID, when nobody had anything to do but watch games, it beat every nighttime game that occurred during those couple of years.
Yeah.
So that was huge. Lot of interest. Really, it was a Big 12 matchup. You know, if you think about it.
Big 12 preview.
These two schools have so much in common. They're going to be great, conference partners in the future. They're both faith-based institutions. We got to know the president and many of the folks from Baylor this last weekend as we got ready for the game and did.
And the Big 12 commissioner.
Did game day. Big 12 commissioner came on, sat with us. We got a chance to visit with him. And this Baylor program, really, it feels to me like Baylor and BYU are going to be natural, like kind of brotherly rivals in that thing.
Yeah. You know, like big brother and we won't call him little brother, but brothers who fight all the time at the house. When they go in public, they're really nice. They look after each other.
Yep, exactly.
I had two older brothers. I got knocked around at the house, but when we were at school, man, those were my two guardians.
Yeah,
I never quite understood the difference with being the enemy at the house and then the prize jewel at school.
And I think this rivalry will be like the Utah BYU rivalry. It's a little bit better now with Kalani and Kyle having some relationship. And that one's not one that they play every year now. I feel like this Baylor-BYU rivalry is going to be quite a bit different. Like, it'll be intense on the field. Two really good teams, but I feel like they're two universities that are going to have one another's backs.
Yeah.
That are going to really watch out for one another in the league. They've got a lot of the same values, trying to do the same things. And they're two really visible programs and really good programs. Like, Baylor's elite level in basketball, and BYU's trying to get there. Both programs are top 15 football programs in the country. Baylor's defending Big 12 champs.
Yeah.
With that staff, with Dave Aranda and his group down there, I don't see them taking a downturn anytime soon. Kalani's built this thing for BYU, so it'll be great on the field. But I just have this feeling, having met their president, a number of their fans, we talked to a lot of the media that covers Baylor, just such a natural fit. And it's the kind of team, when you play them, you desperately want to beat them, but you're going to root for them whenever they're playing anybody else, which is different. Like Utah, I feel like for Utah fans, their favorite team is Utah, and then their second favorite team is anybody BYU's playing, and vice versa. For BYU fans, it's like, I don't care. Like, everybody loves San Diego State this week because they just want Utah. I just don't see this Baylor rivalry being like that. I see both teams rooting for one another when they're not playing one another.
Now that they've evened the score with the Baylor win last year and BYU this year, it sets the table for it's not a one-sided rivalry. This is going to be a classic title fight each time. And we finished up just a short time ago. That's Blaine Feller. I'm Dave McCann. We're the Wise Guys. Happy Tuesday. But we just finished up after further review. Blaine, we had a good time. We broke down so many big plays from Saturday night and explained, you and David Nixon, why they worked or why they didn't work, and then previewed the Oregon game. You can watch that anytime on the BYU TV app. Now, there's a couple of questions right out of the gate on the BYU-Baylor football game. They're working on getting where the whole game is on BYU TV. It will be eventually. There was a mistake on Saturday night where a good chunk of the game, at least the early part of the game, wasn't recorded.
Buttons weren't pushed.
Something happened
in master control.
But they're working on getting that fixed, and then that'll be up there, and you can watch it a million times if you want. But if it's not there yet, just hang on, Mark Axwell. They're working on it, and
Dr. Ketch as well. Yeah, they'll get it for you guys.
Those guys, and it's fun to go on there anytime you want to watch the game. We do it all the time.
Yep, absolutely.
Sometimes we go in there and watch our games that we called, and we go, oh, probably shouldn't have said that, or man, yeah, got that one right.
It's like a finished carpenter, though. I've decided it's like a finished carpenter. Whoa, did you see just what happened to my cheerleader right here? Secure. No, she did like a back summy. That was, I don't know what that was.
Be careful.
There we go.
So, on the podcast, there's a cheerleader on Blaine's microphone. It's a Barbie doll.
But
in a BYU cheerleading outfit.
It keeps me positive.
I don't know what it does over there.
If there's no cheerleaders,
I got nothing like that over here.
If there's no cheerleaders, it's not a game. So let's just keep that in mind. But what were we saying? Give me back, because that distracted me.
We were talking about going back and watching games that we had announced.
Yeah, it's like a finished carpenter. Like when you're doing some finish work in a house and you do it yourself, and you know that one corner you didn't do perfectly. Nobody else knows you didn't do that corner perfectly, but every time you walk in that room, your eyes go right to that corner, and you go, man, I just kind of messed that one up. When we watch our games, we go back and we go, oh, that sounds so awful. But people don't really notice.
No.
Unless it's a complete disaster.
And our parents think we are the greatest. That's really what
that's
matters.
Exactly right. So,
hey, we're on YouTube live tonight. We're on ysguys.com live. We're on Twitch live tonight as we span the world and put together the largest gathering of BYU fans on the planet. And we do it every Tuesday night. And we are so excited because the team has followed suit. We've marched this show through the summer to get to this point. And the team's come out of the gate, and they're 2-0 and ranked number 12. Let's tease the show. We've got some great guests coming up and lots of fun conversation.
Yeah, we've already talked a little bit, but we're going to break down that 26-20 win over Baylor, focus on a few things that stood out and that really jumped out the most to us. And we've had a chance to watch the game film. Dave Nixon and I had a big conversation about it. You were there with us and having a conversation about it. So we'll talk about that for sure.
BYU jumped 9 spots in the AP Top 25. We'll look at where the Cougar opponents that are coming up are ranked this week and where they're not ranked. There might be a couple of surprises there.
Yeah, and then former linebacker Brandon Ogletree. All of us that love him call him Tree. Some people that don't love him call him Tree. So they just know him.
We're going to ask
Tree.
him about that whole Tree thing.
He's here to break down the defense, and he's going to help us preview the Oregon game. He's here. In fact, he's already here. He's not on right here yet, but he's here.
He's taping his ankles, getting ready to play. We'll visit live with Scott Gearhart. He's overseeing the BYU alumni activities ahead of Saturday's game in Eugene. It's going to be interesting because there's a ton of alumni in that area, and we welcome you all to the Wise Guys. We're glad you're listening tonight. And I don't think Oregon students are in yet. I think they're in on the 27th.
How can they go so late?
It's Pac-12.
I think they start late. They do all kinds of
so there may be an opportunity for a large gathering of BYU fans in that stadium.
Man, that would be great.
On Saturday. So we're going to talk to Scott and see what's up with that.
Yeah, we've got BYU head baseball coach Trent Pratt. He's going to come on and join us. Always baseball season when you're the head coach.
Yeah, there's never no time
there's
off.
no off season when you're the head coach. So even though it's not baseball season for us, it's never off season. We're going to find out what Cougar baseball is up to and what they're getting done to get ready to get after it in spring.
And then later on tonight, PGA Tour and Champions Tour golfer Dan Forsman, our good friend, is going to be here. He went to Arizona State, but he has got a BYU story that changed his entire life.
Does Trudy have anything to do with this?
Trudy has everything to do with that.
Okay, that's what I hoped.
So we'll visit with him on that. And, of course, he beat Tiger. We've got to talk about that and all kinds of things.
I mean, isn't it true that
we golf frequently with a guy who beat Tiger Woods?
Yeah, and
I don't know.
I said this a couple weeks ago. Like, we played with him, and on the front nine, I think Dan shot 36 and I shot 38, and I'm like, you know what?
You were out of your mind.
No, I was playing great, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm not that far off. I'm close. I'm really close. And then did Dan shoot 30 on the back? I think he shot 30 on the back. Something ridiculous.
He's
like
awesome.
6 birdies.
Great guy, great golfer.
Then I realized it was a whole different game.
So Forsman's coming up a bit later on. He'll be in studio with us. Before we get to Brandon, let's talk about this AP Top 25. BYU's number 12. They're number 14 in the coaches poll. The coaches poll is completely messed up. But now that they're number 14, I take them a little more seriously. BYU wasn't even in their top 25.
Yeah, the problem with the coaches poll is not very many of these coaches take it seriously. They hand it to their SID or somebody else. The AP poll, and I know you would say, well, coaches should know what's going on. They just don't have the time. They just don't have the time.
And they're really not interested in doing a poll.
And the AP, those guys are taking time to do the research and look at the numbers and do that. They're the media. We're the media. And so I just feel like the AP is a little more reflective. Now, when you start to get to the CFP poll, there's a ton of research that goes into that, and that's the one that once you get to that point in the year, then everyone starts to pay attention to that, and these others just kind of go away.
Arkansas is number 10. Arkansas might be the toughest game on BYU's schedule. We'll see what the Hogs do, but they are tough, and they're playing great. Baylor drops to 17.
That's surprising. I thought Baylor would only drop to about 14.
Yeah. Oregon somehow got back in the poll at number 25. Notre Dame all the way out. They lost to Marshall at home. They didn't look great. Early, I thought they were holding their own against Ohio State. Now they've lost their quarterback for the year. Mm-hmm. And who knows when BYU gets down to Vegas. There are actually, if Notre Dame continues to struggle, there may be more tickets available for BYU fans, especially from Notre Dame fans who are like, I'm not going out there now. We're not playing for the national title.
Well, although I will say this, there's a couple of fan bases that are good regardless and that will follow their team. Notre Dame's one of those. You and I learned about Nebraska when we worked that game in Lincoln, that Nebraska fans, although it feels like they've been punished for I don't know how long now, they still just show up, which I think is awesome. And I think Notre Dame fans will show up.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because when that game came out, they're like, sweet, we're playing Ohio State, and then we're going to play North Carolina. They're decent, and then we play BYU, and then we're on our way to the college football playoff.
Right.
And now they're not going at all.
Right.
It doesn't matter what they do the rest of the way. They're not going to overcome Marshall at home. And so it'll be interesting to see what Irish team shows up in Vegas. Utah's number 14 in the poll, and I mentioned that because BYU jumped them in both polls. Right.
And it'll be interesting to see. It's so hard to know what to make of Utah right now because they went back and got beat by Florida. Really close football game, but they struggled to stop Florida from running the football. And then, I know
Florida turns around and loses a home game to Kentucky. So maybe they're not that good.
But Kentucky's pretty good.
Kentucky's pretty good.
But Florida, what are they going to finish third in the East?
No, they won't finish that high.
Or fourth in the East, right?
Probably fourth.
And so and then Utah goes out and plays an FCS team, so it's really hard. It's kind of like this Oregon team we're going to talk about. It's hard to know how good they are. They got throttled by Georgia, and then they beat up on Eastern Washington. It's hard to know how good they are. I know they got skill guys. I know Utah's got a bunch of physical skill guys, but maybe this week will be a little bit better measuring stick for Utah because they got San Diego State. The San Diego State team's not quite as good as last year, but at least
But they beat them last year.
But they're a decent opponent that's physical and plays good D. So we'll see.
All right, let's run over a couple of notes from the Baylor game before we get Brandon in here. Kalani now 4-0 in overtime games.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good. Extra time,
They
number
don't
of
panic.
wins.
They certainly don't panic. Even when they miss 2 field goals, they don't panic.
Jaron Hall doesn't panic. He's 23 of 39, no interceptions, 261 yards and a touchdown. Now you're like, 23 of 39, that's a lot of incompletions. A lot of those he just threw away when guys weren't open as opposed to, I'm forcing it in. And he doesn't do that anymore.
It doesn't turn the ball over. I'm fine with that against that football team. Chase Roberts comes and just burst onto the scene with no Puka Nacua and no Gunnar Romney. Everybody's saying who's going to step up. We're talking about the tight ends. Well, maybe it's Chase Roberts. Well, it was Chase Roberts.
Yeah.
8 receptions, 122 yards, a touchdown, and he threw a touchdown pass back to Jaron Hall on the quarterback throwback. What a game he had. And we were watching him on film today. He's just a freshman. He's going to do nothing but get better, but at 6'4", he is so smooth. Like, he's smooth with like 4 O's, maybe 5
He's a lot like Austin Collie. Reminds us a lot of Austin Collie. I sat down with Chase, and you can see that on game day on Saturday on BYU TV. Fascinating interview. What an outstanding guy. Yeah. BYU defense, 4 sacks. Last year, Baylor had 534 yards of total offense and 38 points. On Saturday, they were held to 289 yards and 20 points and got beat.
Yeah, and Blake Shapen, their quarterback, 18 of 28, 137 yards. When he threw the ball, they did not – BYU was all over everything that was vertical down the field, all over it, on top of all of those routes. They forced him to throw all the checkdowns, which is when we get Tree on here, he's going to talk about how linebackers get in those throwing lanes, make the quarterback check down, and then rally to the football. That's exactly what BYU did. And their per reception gain was small and manageable. BYU's game plan was excellent in that one.
Chaplain Brett says, I don't remember seeing a game without any turnovers on either side. You're right. These two teams took care of the football. No turnovers in the game. The KC 135 flyover was cool. It was dark because ESPN floated the game to 8:25, 8:30. By the time that jet came over, we saw the lights.
At 10 after 8, you could have seen it. Not at 8:25. It was hard.
So, but you could. It was like a shark. It's like you're swimming, and you look up, and a shark's flown over. Yeah, swum over you with the light above it. Mm-hmm. Clark Heyman, our friend.
Does that happen to you? Because that's never happened to me.
It was in Jaws. Major Heyman was there on the floor with us, and he was on our game day show, and they're working on another flyover.
Oh, yeah, he's going to get us some F-35s at some point.
Yeah. And maybe the Utah Tech game, because that's an actual 1:30 start.
I'm pretty sure he promised me some F-35s later.
We know there are jets going to be over the Oregon game in Eugene. Anything that flies over the stadium, as long as it's not like Delta heading to the airport, it's just exciting.
It's all good.
Makes it good.
So how about fire dancers?
Fire dancers were awesome.
Between the third and fourth quarter, they had like Polynesian fire dancers out on the field, and the crowd was going nuts. And you know that the Baylor huddle, we're looking over there like, what is going on right now?
They were dealing with some flame.
That awesome.
Was not, those are like Roman candles there. They were spinning around. The Rock was outstanding. The crowd sold out the stadium, 63,470. It was electric, and it was fun.
It reminded me of last year's Arizona State game or the Utah game.
Yeah.
It was on that level. Big time game. It was really fun. Hey, BYU's 6th win in program history against the team in the AP top 10, and the first at home since that magical night when BYU took down number 1 Miami.
I didn't realize it had been so long since they'd beat a top 10 team at home.
Yeah.
Not many come in.
Well, and that's going to change because being in the Big 12, top 10 teams are going to come in there as part of the regular schedule. It's really hard when you're in the WAC or you're in the Mountain West or you're independent to get a Baylor or a Notre Dame or anybody like that or an Arkansas to come to your place.
Brett Yormack, the commissioner of the Big 12, as we mentioned, was on the show with us on game day on Saturday. And we asked him about the Big 12 schedule, speaking of these big teams you're talking about. And here's his quote. I wrote on my phone because we sent it out on a tweet. He said, we're still working on it. Speaking of the schedule, which is due out next month, I'll be meeting with the ADs in the next couple of weeks, but I can assure you that BYU fans will love the teams coming in here. They will be national events. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Hey, Yormark asked us, like our big, huge game day show and all of that, with all that it is. It's just a huge endeavor, and the fans are amazing and all that. And he said, "You guys do this every week?" We said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Wow,
yeah,
that's impressive."
That's how we roll. Hey, Kalani reaches his 50th win in his 7th season. Took him 79 games. Lavelle Edwards won his 50th game in his 7th season. Took him 77 games. And this is the 50th anniversary of Edwards' hiring in 1972. And I'll also say that Kalani has more P5 wins in those 50 than Lavelle had in his 50.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a different day and a different game, but the coach is celebrating 5-0. It's awesome.
Absolutely. How about the Jared Hall moment, Dave, that you wrote an article about in the Deseret News? So after the game, where Jake Oldroyd had missed 2 field goals, Dave wrote a piece in Monday's Deseret News, Deseret.com, called "The Play of the Post Game." It sent a strong message of unity. That first of all, your article is beautifully written.
Thank you.
And I feel like you captured what we just all stood there. We were getting ready to go on and do the post game show, and we were watching that.
Yeah.
Fans are flowing down onto the field.
It's a wild scene.
You want to go celebrate and do that. And Jaron Hall stood there and consoled his brother, and that goes a long way.
Yeah.
It's created a cult. Jaron has helped create a culture on this team that is very unique. It is everybody has everyone else's back, no backbiting, no. I mean, is like we watch Brooks and Katoa, the 2 running backs that get about equal carries. I've never seen 2 running backs competing with one another for a job more supportive of one another. That's the culture of this team, and that's why they're so good.
Yeah, it was an amazing moment. We had it again on After Further Review today, and each time you see it, that's the leader of the team. Chase Roberts talked about it, and we'll hear from him on the game day pregame show on Saturday. And that's what leaders do. That's exactly what I'd expect our first guest to do, who started every game as junior and senior season. Led BYU in tackles both years at middle linebacker. At 5'11", 222 pounds, Brandon Ogletree played big. His Cougars led BYU into the first year as an independent, and he's with us tonight as the Cougars play their final season as an independent. Before joining the Big 12, we welcome Brandon Ogletree to the Wise Guys. It is great to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Lean right into that microphone.
This is cool.
Hey, how did you get the name Tree? When did that come about? So we say, I say, Brandon Ogletree's coming. Oh, Tree's coming. I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
everybody. And that's what I said. I said, that's so cool. I love having Tree on with us. And he looks at me, and then everybody we've mentioned it to you, oh, that's cool. Can't wait to hear from Tree.
I mean, it's I think like going back to probably 6th or 7th grade, just having teammates in sports. Everyone, calls
was Ogletree just too long of a name?
Yeah, it's too many syllables, and especially when you can just shorten it to Tree. It just makes it easy, I think. But
so the first time you heard Tree,
a real nickname, you can't ever choose your own nickname.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
I never told anyone to call me Tree.
They just started calling you Tree, which makes it a true nickname, and then it's.
Were your parents okay with that, Tree? Because they named you Brandon, and then your last name's Ogletree, and now they're lone boy of all the 8 kids. Everyone just calls Tree.
Yeah, I don't think they ever thought too much about it. I can ask him, but we've never talked about it.
Brandon's dad is a professor at BYU, and he's also a stake president, and everybody calls him President Tree, as far as I know.
I just call him President. I don't call him Tree.
President Tree.
When you're stake president, I'll call you President Tree. If you get a call and I say, is this President Tree? No, the Wise Guys are calling you back. All right, you're one of 8 kids. You got 7 sisters. We'll call them the Magnificent 7. Is that where you got your toughness? Because you were a very tough football player. So where did it come from?
People have floated that idea. I'm not sure how you get tough by having 7 sisters. So I don't know what to attribute it to exactly.
Well,
did they try to dress you up like a girl and do princess games?
My son, I'd come home from work at times, and my son, who had 3 older sisters, would be with makeup and a dress on, and I was just like, come on.
Yeah, I
was 18
months.
lucky
to be on the older end, So if I had 7 older sisters, it probably would have. I probably would have been at risk of going the other way, but I don't know. I just always, played sports, and I think I was just kind of born how I am, you know. So.
Hey,
How I am.
Yeah, I'm the only boy in our family too, and my sisters did some ridiculous stuff to me because I was younger. I had 2 older sisters, and
I'm surprised you made it.
They dressed me up in some things and like made me a clown and all that. My dad would get home from work and he'd be, "What are you doing to him?" And they'd clean me all up and we'd go out and play catch. But hey, I've been excited to have you come on because I want to talk about this linebacking core in particular in this Baylor game. Max Tooley tied his career high with 13 tackles. Ben Bywater, who's a sophomore, had 11. What did you think of the performance? These two in particular. I want to talk about the whole linebacking crew, but let's start with those two and what you saw out there.
I mean, I was sitting in the south end zone. When I go to the games, I like being able to sit in the end zone. As linebackers, when we watch film, we watch it. We call it the butt shot. You're watching either from behind or in front, you know. And Max jumped out to me. I noticed him in the first game of the season. Like, whoa, he's fast. He's playing quick. He's getting downhill. He's hitting violently, and to do that against Baylor that's impressive. And you know, it kind of occurred to me like, yo, this guy's draftable. You know. Which, like, I don't think anyone has jumped off film like that. Probably since at BYU, I'd have to go back to probably Fred Warner, if you're talking about especially linebackers. But
hey, this is a picture of how you view games right here. You see that?
Yep, yeah, that's exactly where you see him from.
That's right. Right now, you're intimidating the quarterback.
No, I think I was telling Loney Fangupo to slide over.
Move over, dude.
He never used to listen to me. I was just gonna go up and slap him on the rear end. But
and you had to fix it though, right? If he stays in the wrong gap, then you have to make him right?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to play the A gap and take on a center and a guard, so that's what he was for. I had to slide him over.
So you feel like Max Tooley, what you saw, your first thought was, whoa, this guy's draftable. That's how good he looked, huh?
I think it's rare to have that combination of speed and physicality, you know, playing linebacker. And I don't know what his position is at the next level. I'm sure he can put 15 pounds on and play linebacker, because if you look at the dudes getting drafted to play linebacker now, it's safety type guys who can cover tight ends, cover backs out of the backfield, and also play the run physically. And so like that, to me, I'm like, wow, this guy's he's improved definitely.
When you look at Wilgar and Peely and Ben Bywater, who had a great season last year, kind of called into duty, and then led the team in tackles with Peely out, and then Wilgar was banged up. Now all 4 of them are healthy. You throw in Pepe Tanavasa, and that is such an impressive group. But we talked about on AFR today, Peely is the ringmaster, and kind of had your job, making sure everyone was in the right spots.
Peely, it's because he wears number 41, but he just reminds me so much of Wani Unga. You know, like that's who I see when I see him out there. But he's very instinctive. I think the biggest thing that this defense does well is how deep they are. I remember like when we were playing, we didn't rotate. You know, if you rotated, it was because you were hurt or you were gas. But if there were 65, 70 defensive plays, the ones played 70 defensive plays, and I think the coaching staff has made a point to like rotate guys and get experience for all the depth, so that there's a ton of trust when you're throwing those dudes on the field now.
So last play of the game, at least last possession, BYU scored. They're up 6. Baylor's got the ball at the 25. They've been able to run a little bit, or at least enough. Are you confident in that this is going to be the defensive moment? And then we saw some big plays, including Micah Harper with the big tackle at the 7-yard line. But I thought, okay, here they come. The Big 12 champions are going to find a way to win this game, and they're going to do it with running the football. But they just weren't able to get it done.
The longer that game went on without BYU pulling ahead, that was my worry too. I was like, oh, here we go, Baylor, because they're deep. They're in the Big 12. They've recruited 4 and 5 and 3-star dudes, the type of recruits that BYU's trying to get. And so historically, in a lot of those situations, that's kind of when BYU's melted a little bit. And so to be able to win like we did, the craziest thing to me was Baylor abandoned the pass. They weren't even trying to throw the ball, and I don't know really. I mean, obviously our DBs were covering their receivers, and there weren't people open. But
and that kid hadn't been on the road as a starter.
Their quarterback shaping.
Yeah, I mean, he had the Big 12 championship game in a neutral place, but this was a taste of something else.
He was so visibly rattled, and that's all I could think of watching that game is how fun that game would have been to play in. When the BYU fans are going crazy, Lavelle Edwards Stadium, huge home field advantage. But that would be a difficult task going into the student section if you're a first time quarterback on the road in overtime. I don't blame him for trying to run the ball, but it was that caught me off guard. I was not expecting that.
So it comes down to that 4th and goal from the 12 or whatever. 12. And nobody was open as we looked at.
Yeah, we went and watched and broke down the film. They had 4 receivers out on the route, and I am not kidding you. They weren't even remotely open. Like BYU had 1 or 2 guys right in their lap on every. The only singled up coverage, because they doubled the other 3, was D'Angelo Mandel had the backside receiver man to man, and he took the route over. He was right in his face. There was no place to go with the ball.
When you can on defense, when you can apply pressure with 4 and 5 man fronts and use the rest of the bodies to play coverage, that just makes it really hard on the quarterback. It's a really tall task. I think if you're shaping, you at least have to put the ball in play, don't you?
Try to keep it in the field. Let him try to make a play. Yeah,
so you got to at least put that thing in play. But that just kind of speaks to there was nothing there, So
as we watched the rest of the game, we're looking at the high view. I was thinking, did they not even call any vertical routes at all for this kid? And then we started to watch, and we're going, no, they could never get in. And it's not like Baylor doesn't have team speed. They've got that number 11 is faster than anybody BYU has. In fact, he's probably faster than anybody Oregon has, and that's saying something.
Oh, they're scary.
He's a legit, blazingly fast guy, like a 10.3, 900-meter guy in high school. He couldn't run by people. BYU's coverage, every deep ball, every route that they ran deep, BYU was on top of that route, and I thought, whoa, that's 2 things. First of all, BYU's got more speed in the secondary as a whole than they've had in a long time, and secondly, their schemes were really right on. They were prepared and in the right spots. It was really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the schemes were super buttoned down. Can I say something about Kalani and
say whatever you want?
Yeah.
Well, I just think they're I've heard I talk to people who see me, they talk about BYU football, and a lot of things that I hear about Kalani, and especially on defense, is that Kalani is he's the player's coach. Probably a little loosey-goosey, you know what I mean? And that's kind of been the perception. Dave Aranda at Baylor is probably, for my money, the best coach in the country. Aside from, obviously I'm a BYU fan, so I'll put Kalani up there. But, if you talk to football people, Dave Aranda is extremely highly respected from the time he was at LSU, even at Utah State. He's like a Bronco, but with better PR. You know what I mean? As far as, just being disciplined, dialed down, schemes on point. BYU out-Baylored Baylor, especially in the second half. Our DBs were smothering them. There was nowhere to throw. There was no daylight. And I just think that, I think it's time to, respect Kalani as, a real football coach, one of those guys, in the
When Marie Osmond was here, she was saying it's time for everyone to embrace Elisa Tuiaki as a really good defensive player, and it bothered her.
Where are you coming up with that? And she's just like, I'm telling you.
Tired of hearing people knock him.
Yeah, she goes,
that's what she said.
And she mentioned some stats, and then she said, this is going to be the year everybody's going to go, yeah, Elisa deserves more credit. Marie Osmond said that.
Marie Osmond has it going on. But that's exactly what I saw on, I kept, especially in that second half, I kept waiting for the dam to break, dude, Baylor, they're so physical.
We're going to get tired
fast, and we're going to get worn out, and it never did, and that's super impressive, just speaking to the type of guys that they brought in, the type of talent that we have, but also coaching. Our players are ready for that game, and there's so much that goes into getting players ready. But I was super impressed, especially with the back half of the defense.
Former BYU linebacker Brandon Ogletree is on the Wise Guys tonight. We're going to walk down memory lane with you in just a moment on some of your big moments. But let's talk about Oregon and the challenges that await in Eugene on Saturday for this linebacking core, for the defense, for everyone for that matter. It's a huge game for both teams. What do you see?
I mean, Oregon is always going to have a very talented roster. The facilities up there and the Nike relationship, it brings in a certain type of recruit. They've always had speed. Dan Lanning comes from Georgia, really good coach. I think he was the
D coordinator there, yeah.
On that national championship team last year. And so they'll be ready. I think, I don't want to get ahead, put the cart ahead of the horse, you know. But
we do that all the time.
Watching both teams play, I think BYU is going to put it on them. I really do. I just think BYU is too physical. I didn't watch Oregon last week, but I watched them in that Georgia game, and they got bullied, you know.
Yeah, and BYU's not Georgia because nobody's Georgia right now, right? Like Alabama's not. I'm going to say this: Alabama's not Georgia right now. They're elite. I feel like there's been a changing of the guard. I think Georgia's the best program in the country right now. They were last year, and I think the way they look this year, they're looking every bit that again. But BYU is probably as physical as Georgia up front. That caused Oregon all kinds of problems. So BYU doesn't maybe have all the skill guys that Georgia has, but BYU's offensive line, I'll put them up with Georgia's offensive line, and Georgia pushed Oregon around.
I mean, if you look at our O-line and our D-line, those dudes are so big, and they can all move, you know, and that we've had big dudes before, and we've had dudes that can move. I don't know if we've had this combination in a long time of big dudes who can move, and so I'm excited to see it, but it's going to be tough for Oregon. They're going to be a lot smaller than BYU. Like it's going to look a lot like that Georgia game physically. If we let them out on the perimeter, I think it's going to get tough. Like they can obviously put up points. They're fast, awesome skill players. That's what Oregon's known for. I do want to see them try to stop our run game.
Bo Nix is not Marcus Mariota in any stretch,
true.
and I agree with you. I think it's going to be another physical collision there at the line of scrimmage, and I don't think Oregon is better than Baylor.
No,
bigger, stronger,
I
faster.
think Baylor's more physical than Oregon. I think Oregon may have a few more skills. But here's the thing about Oregon. They have a ton of talent.
Yeah.
But they're really young this year. Like, they lost their top 3 receivers. They lost they were really surprised when Travis Dye, their 5th all-time leading rusher who had a year left of eligibility, decided to transfer to USC. That kind of left them with 3, like a sophomore, a Minnesota transfer, and a Western Kentucky transfer that have been sharing the load at running back. They're not Dye. He's a phenomenal player.
I think hearing their coaches talk, I think the Sewell kid, who's a sophomore,
phenomenal player,
is like kind of like the team leader, is what it sounds like.
And he's a
sophomore, amazing player, obviously, but that kind of speaks to how young they are. I think the challenge for BYU this week, going on the road to that stadium, and you guys talked about it earlier. I didn't realize the students weren't in school. But that place is always
they may come just for the game. It'll be really, really interesting to see because their game plan's so different than Baylor. Even with the new coaching staff, we saw last week against Eastern Washington, they're going to get the ball out quick to the perimeter and screens and bubbles and that kind of stuff and see if they can, in space, make people miss. Now, BYU this last week against Baylor, Dave Nixon and I were looking at it and we're going, wow, BYU's unbelievably disciplined. That they had inside leverage, they had somebody running the alley, they had outside leverage on every play. And so if they can have that discipline against Oregon, I just can't see Oregon lining up and running it at BYU.
BYU looks so well coached right now. Like I'm very impressed with just not only how hard they play, but just like you said, the execution. Like guys they're not missing their gap responsibilities. It's fun to watch.
Well, their quarterback isn't turning the ball over. He's in complete command of what's going on out there, and he's the leader on and off the field.
He looks so poised.
Looks like an NFL guy.
I watched a couple times where he waited to the very last second to break the pocket. He kept his eyes downfield the entire time, used his speed to scramble for 7 yards on a 3rd and 6. Like that's awesome stuff.
It really I was impressed with how much trust he has for that O-line. He just stood in there. He's like, wow, my guys are going to keep people away. There were some 5-6 second throws that remind me of the old days, but it's been funny, Tree, when I talking to the coaching staffs over the years. You're talking about, okay, this team coming up, and they'll go, oh man, they got this guy that looks like this. He is a beast, and then that guy, and then they always end up like, man, these guys have some dudes. Like they have some dudes. Like Baylor last year, man, they got some dudes.
And 6 of those dudes went to the NFL.
Right. So this year it's been interesting because BYU has spent 5 years developing these offensive linemen. A bunch of those guys started as freshmen. You remember when Brady Christensen was 250 as a freshman starting at left tackle, and now he's the starting tackle for the Panthers, right? But so now they got this thing going, and it's interesting to talk because they'll go, man, Oregon's got this guy, and we're gonna have to do a good job on this guy, and man, they have some dudes, and then it always ends with this. but we have some dudes.
We
We have some dudes. Like that's something they haven't said for a few years, and now they're like, yeah, we got some dudes too.
How about the kid that we got from Oregon?
Kingsley.
Oh my gosh, man, he is a mountain who can move his feet.
6'6", 330, and can run.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's reuniting with the Ducks on Saturday.
He's going to be pretty excited about that. And BYU's really, they've got Tyler Batty, who got a little nicked up. That's likely he still will play. We're still waiting to hear on Puka, but they played without Puka and Gunner last week. We're waiting to hear on Puka. Gunner's probably got another week or so, but Puka's chance to play. They're 100% healthy on defense. 100% coming out of the Baylor game. And you talk about rotating. Does that contribute to that?
Yeah, well, for sure, because when do injuries happen? When you're tired, when you're fatigued. That's when you pull a hamstring. You've been running too much, right? It's funny. I was talking to one of my buddies about how, like, back when I was playing, if we would have gone into, like, our biggest game of the season, and it's like, dude, shoot, Cody's not playing. Cody Hoffman, our best receiver.
Right.
It's like we're looking around. You look around at the receiving room. It's like, hey, who's going to step up and fill those shoes? And it's like this Baylor game, speaking to our depth, Puka's down, Romney's down, and then Chase Roberts, who nobody even remembered because he's in a signing class from half a decade
4 years ago.
Yeah, because he went on a mission and redshirted.
Like he steps up and he looks like one of the best receivers in the country, you know, and speaks a lot, obviously, to Fessy and like what a good job he's done with that group.
Because Keanu Hill on the other side doesn't drop. Cody Epps, a freshman, he doesn't drop any passes.
They just don't drop
Braden
balls.
Cosper.
This group for the last 2 years doesn't drop balls.
That's a good point. They really don't, man. And we have receivers that obviously can put the ball in or quarterbacks that can put the ball in the money. But going back again, I know it's like beating a drum, but I just think we look so well coached. That's receivers who catch difficult passes, contested passes. It's a really good sign that those dudes are coached up, and
I wonder
receivers don't come out of high school doing that.
No, they drop balls and they lose. I wonder if Fessy has the same motto that Norm Chow used to have in the olden days. So, Norm, we'd be watching a play, somebody make a great play, and everybody go like, "Oh, wait!" And you go, "Why are you guys acting like that's a big deal?" He goes, "Our motto is the difficult catches are routine, and the impossible ones just take a little more practice. Like, so don't make a big deal out of that difficult catch. Those are routine for us."
What's amazing is these aren't really difficult catches because Jaron is putting the ball only where his receivers can get it. I mean, they're all capable of that, but like Puka can get it wherever. Yeah, but these guys, Chase Roberts turns around, the ball's right in his stomach from 37 yards downfield, and he just does that over and over again.
I mean, Jaron looks like he's playing 7-on-7 back there. That guy has so much time, and like he has the cleanest pocket I've seen in a really long time, which is awesome. And then when he has to break the pocket, that's like his superpower. He can use his speed to get out on the edge. Someone's open, it's a nice pitch and catch, and if not, it's like, okay, we'll go get 5 yards and get out of bounds, not take the hit.
What if you were to project now this week? Give us a few keys of what BYU needs to do. And you say you feel good about it, like you think they'll do a great job up there. What do you want to see, and what do you need to see for them to?
Hey, and before you do that, just to build your confidence, Forrest Cook writes in, Tree goes down as an all-time great linebacker at BYU. Great to hear him breaking it down. Looks like he could still suit up. With all of that, now roll out your keys to the game.
What do you weigh right now?
I weigh 231. Probably
9 pounds more than your playing weight.
Well,
that's it.
I think that playing weight must have been like probably from when I first got to BYU.
Yeah, you played at like 230, didn't you?
Probably 230 ish.
So you're the same.
You're the same.
All right.
I'm in between.
So yeah, you could go. What you're saying, you could get in there.
I could
and
play 3 downs.
3 downs, like right in a row, or would they have to be spread out?
They could be in a row. I couldn't play a full series, so it's got to be a 3 and out.
I can play, but I can only be all-time quarterback, and they have to count 5 Mississippis before they rush. Now I can still throw it around, but that's it.
You were in the alumni game though, so you've been back on the field.
Oh yeah, man, that was easy though. You just gotta stand around and crack jokes.
Lay out 3 keys, and then we're gonna get to your personal history.
Yeah, give us three things you got to see.
Anytime you're playing on the road, especially against a good team at a loud stadium, you have to jump up early. And that's what Baylor didn't do. Baylor let BYU kind of ease their way into the game. The crowd stayed in it. I think you got to take the crowd out of it. So that's number one. Especially going on the road for the offense in a loud stadium, you know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
It presents a unique challenge that's hard to practice for. So I would say that's number one is come out early, come out swinging. You don't want to sleepwalk through the first quarter, and that let them get up 2 touchdowns. That's going to be a tough road to hoe trying to come back from that. Be the more physical team, and I think BYU will be. I just think that's kind of in our DNA now is we're built more physical than them. And then the other thing I would say is, like, especially so far this season, I think if you can point to a weakness for our offense, it's got to be third down. Like, I think we're probably are we one of the worst teams in the – I think we're like not in the top 75 of third down percentage on offense.
We weren't great on Saturday on third downs.
I want to say it's like 10 for 27 or 37 or something like that.
Yeah, I'll look it up for you. And that first game, they didn't have a lot of third. They didn't get into third down.
So throw that one out, right?
But this last week, you're exactly right. They didn't do a great job on third down.
What happens when you don't convert on third down is the defense doesn't get any rest, and I was actually worried about that in the Baylor game is these 3 and out. That puts a lot of stress on the defense. So I think if the offense can stay in front of the chains, eat some clock, put drives together, especially early in the game, that's going to make it so much easier on a defense who's going to have to defend a lot of fast athletes, especially on the perimeter.
Dang, I was looking for third down percentage, and the ESPN app doesn't have. Oh, here we go. Third down percentage, 37.04, 10 of 27.
10 of 27. So, yeah. I mean, ideally, you're converting 2 out of 3.
Now, they're better in fourth. They're 3 of 3 in fourth.
And somehow they have 76 points in those 2 games.
My feeling is third down, you want to have a great third down percentage, you got to be productive, as you mentioned. You got to be ahead of the chains to start with. First down production always translates to great third down. Like, if you can go get 5 to 6 yards on first down consistently, all of a sudden you're 60-something% from third down.
Don't go tempo on 2nd and 10. That was stressing me out watching the game on Saturday. Like, why are we tempoing behind the chains? It's good to go tempo when it's 3rd and 2.
Right.
When it's 2nd and 3.
Don't let him get set.
So, because what that does is you just took a minute off the clock for the defense to be on the sideline catching its breath.
Or you get in a situation where you caught them in a substitution where you've got a big package in and they don't. And you're like, we're gonna just run plays right at them right now, so that they don't have a chance to. But you're exactly right. Don't have a no yardage gain on first down or a loss of one, and then tempo on 2nd and 10 or 11.
Save the tempo for when we gain 8 yards on first down.
That's good advice. I think Aaron's listening to this show, or his people are, so make some notes there.
His people do.
All right, Brandon Ogletree's with us for a couple more minutes. Final year of independence for BYU. You were in the first group back in 2011. You go to Ole Miss for the first game as an independent. You win it with the defense on a fumble return. What was that like, starting a new era of BYU football like that with a 14-13 defensive victory in the SEC?
So that's a funny question. I might be the wrong guy to ask. I actually got KO'd in that game. So
Can you not remember it?
I remember pieces.
Well, you guys won in case you.
Yeah, no, I mean.
What do you mean you got KO'd?
I got knocked out.
Knocked out cold.
So there was a throw to their tight end, I think it was the beginning of the 3rd quarter. Like I said, I don't remember that much of it. I've watched it. I've gone and rewatched it since then. But I tried to hit him low, and he dipped his helmet, and we hit head to head. His helmet popped off, and so they went to injury timeout, or we were both just laying on the ground like stone.
Oh wow!
And you were out. Huh?
And I was out, man. And so I came to the sideline and was acting loopy. Obviously, they took my helmet off, and literally all I remember from that game is celebrating at the end of it when Kyle had the strip sack. So
I did not know that you were out.
Ask my teammates about that, and they'll tell you funny stories about what Tree was doing on the sideline.
Crazy stuff you were saying, all of that. Oh. Okay, well then let's take.
Well, that's a memory though. In the first game, you got knocked out cold.
That's a good memory.
Yeah.
Some of the places you had a chance to play. I mean, you got to play at number 5 Notre Dame, 2 tackles for loss in that game. What do you remember from that Notre Dame experience?
Just such a cool place, man. I remember thinking, like, man, I wish our fans were just like this devoted, because I don't remember how many people their stadium seats, but it felt pretty heavy, and they were just all there 8 hours before the game, and the coolest thing I thought about that stadium was it is like a monument to football. You look up, there's no advertisements, it's not like Del Taco sponsors the third quarter, whatever. It is just football. Like, I don't think there's a single advertisement in their stadium. It's just a scoreboard. It's like the diagonal lines painted in the end zone, and it's like, let's play football. And then you hear their band,
old school,
their
right?
band plays the bagpipes, it's just such a cool place. I'm not sure if it's still like that. It feels like it's 20 years ago.
I think
it's
it's
the
like
same.
that.
It's the same.
It was pretty quiet Saturday when Marshall went in to be.
Yeah, but they've kept those traditions for so many years. It really is a cool place.
I mean, and then just we played them. That was the team that was the Manti Te'o team that played Alabama in the national championship. We played them really close. Probably a game we all felt like we should have won that game.
Yeah.
So, I think on paper we actually did win that game, didn't we?
On paper, did it count on paper?
They stripped wins from Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, on paper I think we did.
So I think we were.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Congratulations.
Like on paper, 'cause we had more stats.
Nice job.
You're the first person to congratulate me. on that.
Congratulations on that.
Went in there and took them down. Oregon State, you go on the road, and that was a pretty good game. You forced 2 fumbles. You had an interception. Beat them by 10. Remember that?
I do remember that. Stayed conscious for the entirety of that game.
He's conscious.
Congratulations again.
Oregon State's a cool place to play. I think they were kind of down that year. They actually came back and beat us the next year.
Yeah.
My senior year. But I mean, that was just a fun road trip.
That was your kind of day.
Yeah. How about the Poinsettia Bowl? Kyle Van Noy, 2 defensive touchdowns, but you set the block on his pick 6. You did throw the block that I feel like you
sprung
get the
him to
credit.
the end zone.
You get the credit for the picks for the pick.
Everyone
6.
who goes to you can YouTube that
we'll
play.
give him the pick, but you should get the 6.
I always joke with Kyle that I'm the one that got him paid because, like, if you really want to go back and look, and I'm joking, obviously, but if you would really want to go back and like look at all of our blitzes, I'm the one usually occupying either the tackle or the guard,
and he
so
comes
that
in
he can come through
to the glory.
unblocked. And so I'm waiting. He's actually Kyle's one of the best teammates ever.
Yes,
like he's like Kyle. I probably talk to him 2 or 3 times a week to this day. He's just such a cool dude. And so he hooks me up with tickets,
if people YouTube that San Diego State game, and on that pick 6, and he makes the catch.
Everybody go back and look
Number
at it.
44 is making the block that springs him to the end zone.
I have a picture of what my entire back, because my family, we were down in San Diego, my family went to Disneyland the day after.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going. So I remember staying in the hotel and just like laying down in a cold, dark
Why didn't you
hotel
go?
room.
Why'd you have to be like that?
Well, like
he was all beat up.
The entire, it wasn't from that block, but that block probably helped. But the entire like back side of my back was bruised.
Just bruised. Yeah, you don't want to be on the Matterhorn if that's the deal.
That game, Dave and I were down there covering it. I said to Dave at that time, and I still hold true to this, and that's, I don't know that I've ever seen a defensive player single-handedly take over a game and reverse the pattern of the game and win the game. Like it's
usually a quarterback or the running back.
Yeah, like
gear.
the series of plays that Kyle put out there at the end of that game, I was just like, Kyle Van Noy just almost single-handedly he just did that. That's so rare, isn't it?
Kyle had a knack, like, just for getting to the ball and like getting the ball out, getting the ball in his hands, like. And it wasn't just games; it happened all the time in practice, where you're just like, "Why? How does the ball always end up in your hands?" That never made any sense. But
all right, here's the final question for you. Then we'll do 5 quick questions. DJ, will you put up that picture from high school? So let's go back to before your 9th grade year.
Hey, and Jack, can we turn that fan on a little bit? Like the 200-pound guys are sweating over here.
It's hot in here.
It's hot in here. So
let's go back to before your 9th grade year. Okay. You get a heart murmur detected.
Yeah.
And for a period of time, you're told that's it for you. There's no sports. And a bit later, you get cleared to come back and play, and then you get everything back. How did that experience of losing what you love and then getting it back transformed you into a player that played at the highest level, had your college education paid for, one of the great middle linebackers in BYU lore? Can you remember that time where it was like, hey, you know what you're not going to be is a football player? And did we see that picture already, Mr. Mean high school guy?
I remember that vividly. You go to do your physical, your mandatory physical. I think it was before my freshman year, and all the kids left with their little piece of paper that said they could play, and I had to go get an echocardiogram, and it was really scary. And I just remember, I had like all these tests, and eventually, it took about 2 or 3 weeks, but they're like, okay, you should be good. It seems like a benign murmur. And I just remember.
That's a little disconcerting. Oh, it's just a benign murmur.
Well, yeah, and I just remember being like so grateful, to be able to play football. And so, if you ask my dad, he would be like, that was the year you kind of kicked it into a different gear, and it probably was. And I didn't really think about it like that, but I just remember how happy I was to be able to play football again.
Well, DJ, if you can put up the Ogletree family shot, we'll let you introduce your family with your wife, Amanda. Who do we got here? This was after the victorious Navy alumni victory at Lavelle Edwards Stadium on BYU TV, which we had a chance to call.
Royal.
So who do we got in this shot?
I don't remember who won, but okay. So this is my beautiful wife Amanda and our 6 kids. We'll start with the baby. His name is Michael Jordan.
Nice.
And then the baby that I'm holding, he's 2. His name is Joe. Okay. And then down in the front, that's Johnny. Johnny's the killer.
He's the middle linebacker.
Between him and baby Michael Jordan, those are going to be 2.
Those are the 2 hopes for the future.
Well, and then so Luke over on the left side of the picture. I coach Luke right now.
He looks like he's the guy who wants the ball on offense.
Wait, how old is Luke?
So I was going to talk to you about this. Luke is in 5th grade, and so if you look at the top of the standings, you see Fowler and you see Peterson at Mountain View.
Oh,
so
you're going up against his boy.
The Fowler boys are on a collision course.
Yeah, Landon's coaching.
We don't play each other in the regular season though.
We should get that on TV.
So maybe it's going to be is it the mini bowl? What's it called?
I don't know, but there are playoffs.
That could be great.
It'll be the Rice Krispie Bowl.
So, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, Luke's having a fun season, and then my 2 daughters, Addie and Leah, they're into all types of girly stuff.
Awesome.
That's fun. So it's Luke that's playing at that age. And what does he play, linebacker? And
yeah, he plays a little linebacker. He plays a little quarterback. He's kind of like, I tell him he's like.
He looks like a quarterback.
I tell him he's the Swiss Army knife, like Taysom. If
nice.
we need someone to go in an X or a Z,
Taysom played great this week. Yeah, so Landon's coaching and basically running BYU's offense, of course, and then Bradley, my grandson, is our oldest. He's playing wide receiver and free safety, and he's blazingly fast. So they utilize him. Yeah, he's
the jet sweep.
Yeah, he's the jet sweep guy. Well, I'm watching him last week. I'm more proud when he makes great defensive plays. And they ran a bubble screen, and he was the alley runner from free safety. And I was like, and he makes a tackle from safety, 5 yards deep in the backfield. I'm like, oh, baby, that's my grandson right there. That's awesome. They use his speed.
Are they playing with James Lark?
No, James is on a different. This is their first year. For like 12 of those kids on his team, it's their first year playing tackle, like with your guys, right? So,
are you a good coach? Are you a good coach, or are you a mean coach? And are you?
I probably am a very mean coach,
like Mike Ditka kind of guy.
No, but I have to catch myself sometimes because I realize I'm talking to the kids like they're probably a lot older than they are, But I have a lot of fun. Like I love it.
That's good.
It's been like a blast. So
it's such a fun age, and Landon's whole, and I'm sure you guys are doing this too. Landon's whole thing is, I want to teach these kids about football because although the parents all think their kid's going to play in the NFL, most of them aren't even going to make it in high school, right? And he wants them to appreciate the game so that when they watch the game later in life, they can say, I played, I understand this, I love this game. And so his whole goal is to make sure those kids love the game, which is really cool.
Dude, exactly that. And also, it's been so cool to watch these kids not just develop talents, but learn how to get knocked down and then pop back up. I think that's probably the most valuable life skill these kids will ever learn, And so to take kids who I would, let's be real, they were soft. When they come in, they've never played football before. They don't know what it feels like to get hit, And then 3-4 years into it, they're hardened dudes who hit people and they like hitting, and it's just really cool to watch. So
watch that develop. It's really fun. Well, right. Hopefully I don't know what it's called, the mini bowl, the Super Bowl, whatever it is. That'd be so fun if those two teams.
We'll have to keep an eye on that as the season develops.
Keel and Nixon, their kids are on the same team and they coach them but they're up in Draper. It's kind of it's a foo-foo league up there. It's Draper, right? So.
All right, 5 questions for Brandon Ogletree, and we'll let you go. We sure appreciate you coming in on the Wise Guys.
And these are rapid, first thing that comes to your head.
Yeah. So. Speak right into that microphone. Favorite sports movie? Rapid fire.
Probably remember the Titans. I know.
Thank you.
Titans. That's a popular one.
That's mine. The other one is.
Hoosiers been
Hoosiers.
good.
Hoosiers been there, but I'm like,
I
please.
love Hoosiers.
No, and I'm like, don't go with a basketball.
What's wrong with the Hoosiers?
I don't know. It's just kind of boring.
Wow. Okay.
I'm making a note of that.
Favorite singer or band?
Oh my gosh.
See if he's really Texas country.
Yeah, if I'm really Texas country, shout out to my father-in-law's band, the 8 Seconds Band.
The 8 Seconds Band?
I've never even heard of them.
You better look them up.
The 8 Seconds Band. We look that up.
I'm gonna look them up. Everybody, look up the 8 Seconds Band.
When they
on
play
YouTube.
for 8 seconds, or what?
I think 8 seconds is like a play on the rodeo. You know, it's
Stay on the bull for 8 seconds.
So I'm the least musical person ever. Like people, if you ask me my favorite artist or singer or whatever, I honestly don't know.
Okay, the 8 Seconds Band. All right, well, they'll
Seconds
appreciate that.
Okay, your favorite breakfast cereal. It's very important.
Honey Bunches of Oats, probably.
Really?
Honey Bunches of Oats.
That's a new one.
That we haven't heard that one. And is that a sugar cereal or is it like all natural?
I mean, I'm sure it is like 100% sugar, but it's not. It's not billed.
But because it's got the word honey,
no,
it's
we
not good for you?
respect sugar cereals in this place.
On this show, that's what we do.
I mean, I try if you want my honest answer.
Well, we're not asking for the other
here's
answers.
The thing is, like, I've cut out cereal because I'm a cereal fiend. Like, I will eat 4 bowls of cereal at night before I go to bed. So I try not to eat it.
Dennis Pitta tell us that exact same problem.
I am very disciplined, but I did have a bowl of Frosted Flakes right before I came here.
Yeah,
I had a bowl of Captain Crunch.
So if it's like
literally
for dessert,
like 5 minutes.
It's a s'more cereal.
Okay, s'mores. So the truth comes out.
Okay, now that's
cereal.
a good sugar cereal.
Yeah, that's very sugar.
All right. Favorite?
What was Keel's?
I don't know what Keel's was, but
remember.
Pitta had a problem with cereal at night. Said I could eat the whole box.
He's just
I could literally pound
It's
the
not
box.
good.
if I want.
Okay, you got the next one?
Favorite linebacker?
Zach Thomas.
Nice.
All right.
I like Zach Thomas.
Okay.
Favorite hit? So the biggest hit you ever made in a game. Not the favorite hit of your favorite hit of all time.
I had a good one. I think it was my sophomore year against San Diego State. At the end of the game, they were the score was close. I think they were driving to either tie or take the lead, and they were kind of backed up, probably on like their own 20, and it was I think it was 4th down. I think it was 4th and like 15, and they just threw a deep crosser to the tight end. I smacked him, separated the ball. That was probably my favorite hit.
Nice to hit those big guys and separate
Chad
them.
Lewis reminds me of it. I think he's the only person that ever saw it because like every time I see Chad, he's like
love that
hit against San Diego State.
Well, and he remembers when tight ends get hit. It makes him hurt a little bit himself. How about that hit by Max Tooley in the game on Saturday when he came up midfield and just about knocked that dude out?
I love how downhill these guys are playing, man. It's hard to get hits like that because everyone runs so lateral now. Everything's outside zone, and so to be able to fill a hole like that, it's special.
It's fun.
Now, look, both Blaine and I work for your dad in the steak, but we want you to have nothing to do with you getting on this show tonight. You're on this show tonight because you were one of the meanest, toughest, most successful middle
your
linebackers
dad's riding
at BYU.
Your coattails is what's happening right now.
Oh, for sure, yeah. He's for sure my biggest fan. So I'm sure he's listening right now. Hi, Dad.
Yes, he should be, as everyone should be. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, this is fun.
We look forward to having you again.
Love having you. We'll bring you later in the season to help us break down this defense. If they keep playing like this, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Brandon Ogletree,
Thanks, Brandon.
middle linebacker, number 44. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Wise Guys continues coming up here in just a second. Scott Gearhart's going to join us live from Oregon as we get set for BYU and Oregon on Saturday at Autzen Stadium. Trent Pratt, the baseball coach, is going to be with us in about 15 minutes. Dan Forsman, professional golfer, he's going to join us about 7:40 with a great BYU story, and we'll also talk about him taking on Tiger Woods on the golf course on the PGA Tour. That's all coming up. We remind you, BYU Sports Nation Game Day coverage starts at 1:30 Eastern Time. That's 11:30 Mountain on Saturday on BYU TV. Blaine Fowler, David Nixon, Brian Logan, Spencer Linton will be live in Eugene. I'll be there as well in our studio. Chase Roberts, had a great conversation with him. We'll feature him in the show. It's his week. He's the big man on campus. And then BYU and Oregon at 3:30 Eastern, 1:30 Mountain on Fox with the live postgame show back here on BYU TV. It'll be the 5th time BYU and the Ducks will meet on the football field, the first since Ty Detmer's Heisman Trophy season in 1990 in Autzen Stadium. Cougar Nation is strong in the Pacific Northwest. Scott Gearhart is the BYU Alumni Chair in that area of the world, and we welcome him to the Wise Guys tonight. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here.
There
Just
you
need to
are.
clarify, I'm actually in Washington State, but I am the regional director, so I oversee the chapters in Washington and Oregon, about 9 chapters, and also Alaska.
Awesome.
Wait, so now my question is that whole crew, like every place you just mentioned, going to go support the Cougs in Eugene?
Absolutely. You guys have seen it, right? Every time there's a game in Portland, what
Oh,
happens?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, same thing. You remember last year in Pullman, we had about 6,000 fans there. Bulk of them were right here from the Pacific Northwest. We calculated about 1 every 6 people in the stands that day were BYU Cougar fans.
That's awesome.
In Autzen, is it harder to get tickets for BYU? Are they going to be able to get tickets? Can there be that type of representation in this environment?
No, unfortunately, with Wazoo, we had the luxury of the fact that they weren't being followed that well, and they rarely sell out. Autzen always sells out. They make available 1,000 to 1,500 tickets for opposing teams.
And that's about it. Now, are students in over there yet, or are they still out? Don't they start on the 27th, I thought I read?
That's a good question. I know California schools are a little later, but I don't know if the whole Pac-12 does that or not.
So let me ask you the same question we asked Sarah Watson, who's the alumni chair in the Tampa area. How exciting is it for fans for the football team to come to town?
Well, again, you'd see all the support that we give to the teams here in the Pacific Northwest, as we've done even when we played at UW a couple of years back in 2009. It's great when the players come here, and in particular, they interact with us after the game, high-fiving around the stadium and so forth. It's great because we support, we show up. And, the Pacific Northwest is a hotbed of alumni. I don't know if you know that there's 26,000 alumni in Washington State, about 18,000 in Oregon, a few more in the Panhandle. So huge numbers here. We'd love to see us more often. We'd love to see the BYU teams up here more regularly. But, whenever they come, we're there to support. This is a big stage. We're going to come. We're going to be loud. We're outnumbered 50-1. What can you say? But we'll give it our best shot.
Well, Dave and I have witnessed when at firsthand up when the Portland Pilots are playing BYU in basketball, how the BYU alum in that area, and you just mentioned those numbers, literally take that arena over. It's been really fun to be up and be a part of that.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times myself, and it's great to just watch the Portland fans watch us walk in and just shake their heads.
So Scott, when were you at BYU?
Oh, man, you and I overlap. I was there basically post-mission 79 to 83.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there watching you in the stands. In fact, I got the 84 championship poster up here behind me, and right there, front row, dead center, number 16. We're looking over my shoulder every day.
I love it. I love it.
Blaine likes to be right in the middle.
No, I just like to be protected by big guys, and I have a couple of gigantic dudes sitting right next to me, a couple of O-linemen.
Huge guys.
And they grabbed me.
And by the way,
they said, Blaine, sit right here. We'll protect you.
Yeah. And by the way, I was a broadcast major also. Unfortunately, on the way to the Broadcast Hall of Fame, my hair all fell out. You had to have hair back in the 80s, so I switched to public relations.
I love it.
Scott, what kind of activities do you have planned for the BYU alumni in and around this game?
Well, of course, there's the tailgate party, which is going to be 9:30 that morning. Game time is 12:30. We'll run the tailgate from about 9:30 to 11:30. It'll be at the baseball stadium, which is right across the street from Autzen. And I mean, closer than our baseball stadium is to LES. You can literally walk across the street. And we've got it in kind of the enclosed area there. So if there's rain, which I doubt it, we'll be there. We've got some gourmet waffles for everybody to eat.
Nice.
That are kind of savory or sweet. They've got different toppings. For entertainment, we've got, the ball toss and cornhole. We've got face painting, so you can literally get your game face on.
Nice.
We've got poster making. They actually allow posters in the stadium, I think 2x3 in size. So that gives everybody a chance to write some pithy thing that they can put on their poster and maybe get on Fox TV on commercial breaks or something like that.
Be creative, folks. Be creative.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, we've got some entertainment. We're going to have Cosmo. We've got President Worthen's going to be Cosmo, the cheerleaders. Right. President Worthen, also Chad Lewis, Tom Holmoe. And actually, I'd like to go out on the limb like I did with a lot of young women in college and ask them on dates. Guys, can we have you come over just for a couple minutes? Come on, 9:30. It's right across the street.
We'd love to. We're going to be in studio here in Provo, but Spencer will be over there.
Spencer Lynn is going to be up there, and Spencer could probably stop by if it times out right. We'll see if Spencer. We'll check with him and see if he can come over and stop by.
But even a bigger ask, there's a certain alumnus from Eugene.
Oh,
that
Danny.
We'd love to get a hold of.
Yeah,
him,
Danny, you're trying to get.
Yeah, if he went,
Yeah.
I think he's still trying to move the Jazz roster around.
Wait, he's trying to sign an entire new roster right now.
But we see
Yeah,
him.
but
We
all
see
work
him
and
quite
no
frankly.
play. All work and no play makes for a dull boy. We got to get him up there for the
You know
day.
what?
So
Oh,
he
yeah.
has to work.
We'll find out if he's going to be up there or if he's got too much going on. It's so
I'll buy him a waffle.
it's so funny because I think Michelle thought that he was going to be retired, right?
Right. Well, when he retired from the Celtics, that was going to be.
Yeah, that was going to be retirement. They were going to just spend time with family, follow the Cougs. That didn't happen. Danny, he can't sit idle. He just can't do it. The competition, he's just got to be in the middle of it. And so now he is, along with Ryan Smith, our good friend Ryan, is just rebuilding the Jazz. And I know that they're, as you can see if you're watching the news, they're really busy at it. So I don't know if Danny's going to be up there or not. That's his hometown. We'll find out if he's going to be up there. So
Yep.
Scott Gearhart is the head of the alumni in the Great Pacific Northwest. There's always service projects around these games when the Cougars come to town. What are you guys doing?
Well, first of all, let me just give some information that we've come up with now a branding that is going to be used for all upcoming road games or tailgate parties, and it's called Cougs Care. I don't know if you got a chance to get that graphic that I sent over,
yep,
but
it's
we're
up on
looking
the
at it
screen
right
now. Yep.
created for just this event. And the particular event that we're going to be doing here is raising funds and raising items for refugee families. In the Eugene and Portland area, we have refugees coming from about 13 countries on a regular basis. They have a stipend to live on, but of course it's pretty minimal. So what we're looking for is contributions of diapers, wipes, and so forth, because they do often have a lot of children. But also the same group being headed up by Christy Parks, in fact, of the Portland area. She's been involved in refugee efforts for years there. And we want to make this an ongoing thing where BYU alumni can do the old, enter to learn and go forth to serve, and give those opportunities to work in the community and do things like help these refugees learn how to get groceries, learn how to use the transportation system, basic things that we take for granted. They're coming from a different culture, different language. It takes a little time. So we encourage people to bring donations of diapers and wipes or gift cards that can be used for those purchases, and talk to Christy about some opportunities to serve directly with people in that community.
That's so awesome that in BYU doing great things and our alumni around the world doing great things to help people. That's phenomenal. Some of our listeners and followers are asking some questions. First of all, BYU Sports Addict says, "Hey Scott," with exclamation points. So you must know BYU Sports Addict. I don't know what BYU Sports Addict's real name is, but he seems like a friend. And then Dr. Ketch asks,
It's
Scott,
one big family.
Are you going to have rain-free weather for the game? You mentioned it earlier, but we want to know if there's a guarantee of rain-free.
Can't guarantee it. I don't even know if it'll be smoke-free. Right now, I'm sitting in a haze of smoke. But I can tell you this, historically speaking, the best time to be in the Willamette Valley is the middle of September. It rarely rains. Now, knock on wood, everything you got.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be okay, mid-70s, and I think the smoke will be blowing east, so we should be okay.
That'd be good.
For your tailgate on Saturday, can folks just show up and kind of sign up at the door? Do they need to have bought a ticket before? What do you want fans to know?
We're limited in based on fire code and so forth. We can only admit a little over 500 people. We've almost sold all 500 tickets.
Okay.
We do have kind of an option of buying food when you're there with your ticket. Other people can show up. We will have to monitor head count. And as I said, pretty much we're at 500 right now. However, we do have some T-shirts that are for sale with a pretty cool graphic that's Pacific Northwest oriented. And that is those can be available kind of at the gate of the tailgate.
We're showing them
come
right
over
now.
there if you want to buy one of their shirts.
Nice. Yeah, we got the graphic up. Those are great.
So you got Pacific Northwest, PNW, and you got Y Mountain there. And
That's
you
on
got
the back and the
Sailor
Y's on the
Coupe.
front. Yeah.
That's a good-looking
Yeah,
shirt.
that's a takeoff of the Pacific Northwest logo that a lot of people have. Usually at the top they'll have a forest or mountains. Well, we combined it. We put Y Mountain in the PNW logo, and there we go. And then they often have Sasquatch. Well, we got our domesticated Cosmo with a sailor hat on, and that brings in the hometown feel for BYU. So it combines Pacific Northwest with our heritage at BYU.
That's great.
That's awesome. Whenever I see Sasquatch, I immediately go back to Mike Leach's former BYU grad, or a BYU grad. explaining whether or not Sasquatch exists. Nothing like Mike
I
Leach.
haven't heard that one.
Oh,
Is that on
You can
YouTube?
YouTube
oh
it.
yeah,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
Google it, do Mike Leach on Sasquatch and you'll die. He is hilarious, and he takes every question like it's a completely serious question and asks it in a serious fashion, which is hilariously funny. Mike is great at that.
Scott, let's finish with this. 3 keys to a win for BYU on Saturday. Lay them on us.
As usual, you got to start fast. Try to keep the crowd out of it. They are loud. I mean, they have record decibel recordings there, fans. So we got to start early, score. I think special teams have really got to step up. I think that may be the difference maker. And I got a good feeling. I think the special teams are going to step up this time. And I think quarterback play, I think Jaron's going to be the guy who's going to make it all happen.
Awesome. Yeah, you know what? You said take the crowd out early. Brandon Ogletree, former middle backer, said the exact same thing. So we got a theme here. Take the crowd out. Jump on them early. I agree with that.
Hey, we've got a quick note, Scott, from Emily Bass. Said, tell Scott the Tri-Cities area is considering having him do a fundraiser for Cougs Care, being a dunk tank, $5 a shot. You're gonna have to.
I'm willing.
You're gonna have to come to terms with that.
Get out there to Richland in that area and Kennewick and go help them.
Yeah, the Basses replaced me here at the Kennewick chapter, so I'll be happy to do that in the wintertime. I'll do it in the winter.
Wow, that's
Awesome.
next level. Hey, have a great weekend with the Cougars out in your neighborhood.
Thanks.
I'll be up there cheering.
Thanks for joining us, Scott.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good luck. We appreciate all you do for BYU alumni up in that area.
Glad to do it.
Thousands of them.
Yep.
And we'll look for you in the crowd cutaways on Fox on Saturday. So wear something blue.
That'll be me.
Scott Gerhardt, thank you. Live tonight from Washington and that whole area getting ready for the game on Saturday. The Cougars are 12th in the country, coming to town with a chance to make another statement.
And it sounds like Scott's out in central Washington, but this is Washington, Oregon, Alaska, that Pacific Northwest region of the Cougar Club, and sounds like they're supporting it in a big way. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like Oregon gives that many tickets to the opposing team.
Yeah.
So
BYU fans find ways, though.
Oh, they do. You know,
They find
BYU fans
ways.
are very, I don't know, what's the word? They'll go and find them on the secondary market. And
It's like water. They can't be stopped.
they creep in. Next thing you know, there's royal blue.
People look around going, how'd you get in the
There's
game?
royal blue dotting that stadium. And nothing makes Oregon fans worse than royal blue dotting that stadium.
That's right.
So do your best, folks. Be resourceful.
Our next guest is getting ready for his first full season as BYU's head baseball coach. Trent Pratt was put in charge in the middle of last season when Mike Littlewood abruptly resigned. In his 25 games as the interim head coach, the Cougars went 16-9, reached the conference tournament, and a short time later, Pratt won the full-time position. It's our pleasure to welcome BYU's head baseball coach, Trent Pratt, to the Wise Guys. Coach, we mentioned earlier, when you're the head baseball coach, there is no off season. Is that a correct statement?
That's definitely a correct statement. Yeah, it's been a pretty busy summer and fall. So, yeah, I think I finally have my head above water. I'm not drowning anymore. So I feel like I'm doing all right.
Now, I'd ask you if you had been enjoying some time off, but every time you drive past the baseball stadium, there's the crack of the bat and the sound of the balls being driven into the outfield. And, is there really any time off now but for your guys with postseason workouts and winter workouts, and then you're in action in January?
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much time off. They get a little break, over the Christmas holiday. Hope they go home, but they need to stay in shape because once they get back, it's kind of all systems go. So they get a little time to relax during that time. We try to give them a couple of days off here and there, but man, we're out there working hard and preparing for the season and trying to get after it a little bit.
The stadium that you have has some I'm going to say modern heating systems and things like that, so you can play when it's a little bit colder weather and melt off some snow and things like that. But this isn't a warm weather environment. It's not like you're down in Tempe, Arizona, right? So how do you keep these guys engaged and working out during the off season in the winter when the weather gets bad in Provo?
We know we're going to play in it sometimes. So as long as there's not snow on the ground, it's 40 degrees, we're going to go outside because there's a good chance we're going to play in that sometime during the spring, whether it's at our place or Portland or Gonzaga or anywhere else. So it's just a matter of, hey, we know what it is and we're not afraid of it. And hopefully we can use that to our advantage when teams come to our place that aren't used to that cold weather, that we're a couple steps ahead of them.
4 key players are gone from last year, all taken in the first 20 rounds of the Major League Draft, which tied a program record You got pitchers Nate Dolly, Cy Nielsen, Cooper McKeon, and utility infielder Andrew Pintar. So that's like kind of a, dang, you lost those guys. But as you go recruiting, you can say, hey, we lost those guys to the Major League Draft.
Yeah, it's a good thing for us. We want every kid to come here, and I think every kid that comes, their dreams of playing professional baseball and playing the big leagues, and our job is to help them achieve that. So definitely it hurts losing those guys, but I think also helps to say, like, hey, look what BYU's doing. They're developing players and getting them better and giving them a chance to go on and play professional baseball and live their dreams. And so, yeah, we like the guys we have coming in, and those guys are gonna be hard to replace, but we feel like we reloaded and can come and do the same thing on the mound like we did last year.
You know, you were drafted in the 12th round by Philadelphia as a catcher coming out of Auburn. Describe the thrill of getting that phone call on draft day.
Man, it's awesome. It's what you always dream about. I remember I was just finished my season at Auburn. I was actually driving home. I was on my way back to Twilla, Utah, and got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize back on the old flip phones, and pulled over the side of the road, and scout said, hey, we just picked you in the 12th round. And it was like, okay. He goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm actually driving home. He's like, well, how quick can you get home? How quick can you get on a plane and get to Clearwater, Florida? So I think I made it, drove about 16 hours and got home. And a couple of days later, I got in a flight, went to Clearwater, Florida to play.
Wow. Hey, Michael Rucker pitches for the Cubs. He needs some support out there. He's the only BYU guy on a 40-man roster at the moment, and he's having a great season. I know you just sent 4 guys out to give him some support with the draft, but how about Rucker and what he's doing? He's still a few years away from arbitration. The Cubs own him for the next 5 years, but he is pitching great this year.
No, he's awesome. It's fun to watch, and you knew that when Mike was here. His last year he was our ace, and man, we knew if we gave Mike Rucker a lead, he was going to hold it. And that you think the teams he beat. Corbin Burns was in our league that year, Mitchell White, and we had a bunch of like big time arms in our league that year. Gonzaga had a guy last name of Bailey. I think Rucker beat all of them.
Yeah.
I think he might have had one. I think he got a no decision against Burns. He left with a lead and we ended up losing late. But that was probably one of the best pitching leagues that I remember being our league, and Rucker was at the top of it.
Speaking of pitching, you retain most of your staff. Brent Herring, Tuckett Slade. I see those guys working out all the time. We work out together.
We're just glad they're working out.
The only thing I'm always worried about is like I've rotated around. I'm doing chest, shoulders, and tries. It just seems like those two are always just doing biceps. So I don't quite understand that. But
I think Tuckett loves the bench press.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's seen him doing chest.
He
miss chest day for sure.
I'm teasing those guys, and they're always great. We always catch up. You got Noah Hill back. You added pitching coach Abe Alvarez from the University of Nevada. What impact will Alvarez have on pitching this next year for the Cougs?
I think it's have a big impact for us. Abe, he achieved what all of us wish we could have and what all our players are aspiring to. He's a 2-time All-American. He got the bigs with the Red Sox. But more importantly, Abe and his wife, Nana, they're great people. And as I kind of looking for a pitching coach, I started asking around, and I called all the coaches I knew, and they kept throwing his name out to me. And no one anything had bad to say about him. And when I met him, it's like, hey, he's a real guy. He's super disciplined, organized. He's going to push guys to get better. And he knows what it takes. And so I think our pitching staff, as a staff, we're really lucky to have him. Not only that, he can really recruit. He kind of led Nevada's recruiting efforts, and they did a great job there. I think he can open some doors recruiting wise that maybe we haven't had in the past.
BYU baseball coach Trent Pratt is on the Wise Guys tonight. Now, Coach, during the season when you became the interim head coach, you wouldn't go into the head coach's office very often. You certainly didn't move stuff in there. And I'd ask you, like, hey, this is your office. Why are we out here talking about this? Tell me you've moved in and you've settled in and the place is all yours.
Yeah, it's a little different. I spent, 10 years in that other office.
Yeah.
I think my little boys, Tug and Blake, were more excited about moving in the big office than I was. I kind of like being around other people. I don't like being alone. So I still go hang out in that office probably more I'm in this office, but it's good. There's a lot of things for me to learn as a head coach. And so, man, I'm learning as fast as I can. And I'm just excited to get back on the field. We started practice last week, and that's what I love the most. I love being at practice. I love coaching. I love being around the guys. And so that's helped is being back out there. And, and I know, man, we're going to make a run at this. I'm just glad I'm surrounded by great people. You know, I have a great administration that believes in us and gives us what we need. And I'm surrounded by a great coaching staff, and we have great players. And so, you know, that I think that makes your job easy as a first-year head coach, knowing that you have all those things in place already.
Yeah.
That's great setup. Hey, the program's won league titles 2016, 2017, 2019, reached the NCAA tournament in 2019. Now you're one season away from joining the Big 12. What are the offseason priorities for you and your staff to get ready to make that jump into the Big 12?
Well, the first thing is go win the West Coast this year. We're going to take it one day at a time and worry about the Big 12 when we get there. But I know the recruiting efforts are, you know, knowing what we need to get going into the next year. You know, we have a list. Hey, what are our needs? What do we need? We've played Big 12 teams. We've played those teams at the top of the conference and see what they look like and how they operate and what steps do we need to do to get there. I think like every sport, we probably need a little more depth. If someone goes down, we better have someone that can come behind them and be ready, and some more, you know, some bigger, stronger guys possibly. But I think we're on the right track. I like the guys we're recruiting now, the guys we have committed coming in. I think we can go in there and compete and do a good job.
This is the time of year that you start putting your schedule together for this last run as a member of the WCC. Who are you looking at? You got any fun teams coming in? A lot of guys don't like to come play in Provo because the weather doesn't guarantee them that they'll play 3 games or 4 games. And
yeah.
I know you had a series move to Texas with Oklahoma State because you just couldn't trust the weather that week. So working around that, what do you got coming?
Man, our one off season, I mean, non-conference, we have Omaha coming in because we went there a couple years ago and they owe us a return trip. But we're going to start our season at Louisiana Tech. That was a regional team. Then we're going to stay in Louisiana and play Louisiana Lafayette right after that, which is another regional team. So I think it'll be fun for our kids to play down there. And I mean, they get good crowds. You know, those people in Louisiana, they love their sports and love their baseball. So it'll be a great experience for our guys to play down there. And then we go to Creighton, we'll get a chance to play in, you know, the College World Series Park and
that'd be cool
and experience that a little bit. So hopefully that's not the last time we play there.
That's right. That's right. And then you've played some Big 12 schools, it seems, a little more frequently. Any of those yet, or are we going to have to wait for another year for all of them?
Not this year. Yeah, we don't have anyone from the Big 12 on our schedule this year, so we'll have to wait for that. You know, and that now they have to come to our place. We can't relocate it and go play somewhere else. It'll be conference play. So, but I'm excited for our fans and for us to see those teams finally have a chance to come to Provo, and I think that's exciting. You think in all our sports, it's going to be an exciting time to have those teams come in on every other weekend or whatever it is, and I've had to see some real good teams and us battle against them.
You know, when people talk to us about the Big 12, the first thing they always say is, "Man, that's a crazy basketball conference. Is that the best basketball conference in America?" And we easily say, "Absolutely, it is." Right?
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, how good is the Big 12 in baseball? How good a conference is this that you're joining?
Man, it's really good. You think you got Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor. I mean, those teams have been to the College World Series, and been knocking on the door. So it's going to be competitive every weekend. And the teams coming in are good teams. So you kind of look through that, and it's going to be a battle every weekend. There's not many weekends off. And for people that follow college baseball, man, it's a top 2 or 3 RPI league every year. And so, man, it's a big challenge for us, but man, what a great opportunity as well.
You and your wife have 6 kids, with Tug being the youngest. I met Tug. Had a few baseball conversations with him. How's he made the transition of dad going from the coach out there at third base to the head coach in the big office?
Well, he thinks he's pretty cool. He can walk in. They drink way too much soda. They go to that back fridge. They kind of think this place is theirs. But we want it that way. I want all our kids in here, our coaches, and man, we miss a lot of their lives. And so as much as we can have those kids and Brent's kids and Abe's kids at the field and Tuckett's kids, man, it might feel like the romper room sometimes, but man, we want them around. I think that's awesome. They get to be here, and they walk in like they own the place. They tell our players what they think, and sometimes I got to rein them in a little bit, but they're excited. They think the big office is pretty cool. They can lay on the couch with their feet up, and so that part's pretty fun.
Yeah, more power to them.
Yeah,
that's living the dream.
It really is living the dream. And for you, been an assistant for a long, long time. You get thrown in right in the middle of the season. Now you got an off season to kind of think about this and get ready. What's this opportunity mean to you to be the head baseball coach at BYU now?
Well, it's something I always dreamed of. It's something that man, since I started coaching, I've been, trying to prepare myself to be a head coach since we started. I love being assistant. I love doing that, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity. And, and I feel like I'm ready for it. There's days that I wonder, I think like we all do, but man, it's just full steam ahead. And I just, I have great people around me to support me. And that's the biggest thing, is just knowing that. And man, we'll put some stamp on things and do some things that I've always wanted to do. So, man, we're real excited about it.
Well, we're looking forward to a full spring of BYU baseball on BYU TV for all the world to see. And Miller Park on a Friday night when it's not cold. Let's say when it's like 75 on a Friday night.
Hey, we'll take 55.
Or 55. That place is tough to beat.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome venue. I think sometimes we take it for granted. You look up there and we bring recruits in, they're like, man, this place is beautiful. And you kind of sit back and you're like, it really is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good for us to step back and realize how blessed we are to be at this university and have the facilities and the place we live.
All right, you ready for 5 quick questions?
Yep, this is rapid fire 5 questions.
All right.
Favorite sports movie?
Sandlot.
Oh, see, I was thinking, what's he going to pick for a baseball movie?
That was on the other day.
That's one of the greatest movies of all time, period. I love
had to
it.
stop and watch
I'll watch it anytime it comes on. I'll never turn it off.
So
that's right. That is
sometimes when we're trying to do a show and I'm like, come on, Dave, you can hurry up. My clothes are going out of style.
That movie is quoted about as much as certainly any baseball movie that's been made. Or it's right up there with all the sports movies. You can. Once you get going with, and we just had Eric Waite from Singapore chime in, you're killing me,
Smalls, right? Like
I blame myself. I use that line all the time after they tried to get the ball from the big dog's backyard, and it is a classic.
And James Earl Jones. I mean, it's just.
All right, so Sandlot, that's a great choice.
That's a great choice. Okay, favorite singer or band?
James Taylor.
That's old school.
Man, that's good stuff.
Yeah, I grew up kind of.
Wait,
didn't
he just sing at the White House today?
I don't know.
I think he did.
I don't know.
I think he's doing something today.
Favorite breakfast cereal?
Man, Cocoa Pebbles.
You know what? Your street cred just went up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, listen, my parents, we never had sugared cereal growing up until we left the house. And so once I got sugared cereal in my mouth, it was over.
Can I just tell you, the people that come on this show, we've had a lot of people on this show, and they throw out some healthy cereal, very disappointing, because we know 2 things. First of all, there's something wrong with them, and secondly, they're probably lying.
Brian Keel said cinnamon, no, just Life, not even cinnamon.
Life cereal.
Life cereal.
You mean cinnamon Life, right? And Brian Keel's like, no, regular Life. And we're going, come on, Keel.
Cocoa Pebbles. The thing with Cocoa Pebbles is you put the milk on, you've got to eat them right away.
It's chocolate milk.
Yeah. You get chocolate milk when you're done.
They get soggy super fast.
That's legit.
Fruity Pebbles are all right,
That's legit. Okay. Favorite time of day?
Morning.
You're a morning person.
Morning person with
I've
Cocoa
always
Pebbles.
Been that way. I like getting up. I don't sleep in very good.
All your games are late at night. So you have to adjust the whole mindset.
For sure.
And by the way,
I'm good when the lights come on, the stars come out, right?
That's right.
And by the way, in the morning is when I see Brett and Tucker to the gym early in the morning. Yeah. So that's when they're there.
That's when it's quiet at my house. If I get real early, there's no noise.
Think about this one. This one isn't as easy as that one.
Yeah. Favorite ballpark.
What's the Giants stadium called now? It changes names all the time.
Was AT&T Park? I don't know what it is anymore.
That was Pac Bell. What is it now?
I don't know what it is. Is it not AT&T?
Is it AT&T now? Because it was Oracle. Maybe it is Oracle.
Maybe it is Oracle.
But you love that stadium right on the bay?
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. Yeah.
Hey,
I haven't been to a ton of big league stadiums.
Our good friend Yvette Nacer just sang the national anthem for the Giants game last night. She was awesome. Yeah. Giants so my daughter and her friend sang the national anthem for the Dodgers game last week or 2 weeks ago.
How did you pick that over Wrigley Field?
I've never been to Wrigley.
No kidding.
Dave's a huge Cubs fan.
Michael Rucker hasn't got you back to a game?
No. My little boy Brooks is a huge Giants fan, and luckily I've been to that park like 3 times. When we played in Barry, we stayed and gone, and me and Brooks went back to a game late this summer. There's just something about that park. I don't know.
It is. What about Fenway? Have you been to Fenway?
No.
Oh, man.
You got to get out.
You're the head baseball coach. Fenway is. Yeah, we got to get you to Fenway because that's something special. We walked in. My number in college was 16. We walked in, and we walked down. Our friend got us tickets, and I go, "Look, honey, we're in row 16, just like a number." And then we sat down, And she goes, "Oh my gosh, honey, you're in seat 16." I'm like, "Are we in section 16?" She goes, "We're in section 16." Then I look down, and the Red Sox batter is coming up to bat, number 16. I go, if 16 hits a home run right now, this is the craziest thing ever. And he jacked one out right center. And I was like, we sat in seat 16, row 16, section 16. 16 walks up to the plate and hits a home run. I'm like, we're supposed to remember this moment.
He's never been the same, Coach. He's never been the same.
You should have gone and put everything on green.
I should have done it. I should have done something. Can you believe that? But Fenway, what an unbelievable. We got to get you to Fenway, Coach. Come on.
I played on the Cape for 2 summers and never went to a game at Fenway.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I haven't gotten over the not being at Wrigley, and your pitcher is pitching for the Cubs. So let's try and do that next summer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Coach. Hey, thanks for joining our show tonight, and we'll have you back. We'll welcome you back anytime, but certainly as the boys get ready to play and we roll out another season on BYU TV of Cougar Baseball at Miller Park, we look forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for you guys. All you guys do. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Hey, before we go, what's your key to what does the football team need to do?
Yeah.
Give us 3 keys for the
to a
game
win
Saturday.
against the Ducks Saturday.
3 keys, man. 1, always stop the run.
There you go.
Get our running game going.
Stop, run, start, run.
Yep.
Score touchdowns in the red zone.
Okay, no settling for field goals. I like this.
Yeah,
we need touchdowns. Touchdowns win games, don't they?
They
Yes,
do
they
on the
do.
road. They
Okay,
do
that's
on the
good.
road.
That's good advice.
Coach, have a great night. Say
Thanks,
hi to your
Coach.
family. Give Tug our best, would you?
I will. I appreciate you
All
guys.
right,
Thanks, Trent.
Coach.
See you.
Trent Pratt getting ready for his full season as the head coach at BYU baseball, and again we'll have him back as we get into baseball season. But we wanted to get him on and chat with him. And as they just started practice for fall practice, they'll actually play some fall games over there at Miller Park. It's always baseball season, or so it seems, until there's like a foot of snow.
Eric Wright says, "What, a head baseball coach who hasn't been to Fenway or Wrigley? Can that be true?"
It was true.
I feel bad. I feel like we need to maybe get with Trent and organize a golf trip or something. Go back and see Fenway.
I'm gonna text Michael Rucker and say, hey, how about you get the coach?
Get your coach
out
a
to
ticket, yeah.
Wrigley Field for crying out loud.
I used to have a great one of my good buddies was the voice of the Boston Red Sox. That's how Brendan and I went back to that. Tim Neverett. He's now the voice of the Dodgers. So we got some hookups there. I don't have hookups at Fenway anymore.
Yeah, none of us like the Dodgers except for a few people.
He says it's the best broadcasting job in Major League Baseball.
Is it?
Yeah, because you're actually an employee of the team, which means you're an employee of Major League Baseball. With the Red Sox, it's a contracted broadcasting group that does it, so you don't get Major League Baseball benefits and retirement and all that kind of stuff. So he's loving the Dodgers. I thought he had the best job in baseball with the Red Sox, and he's telling me, no. The Dodgers is the best job in
Our
baseball.
friend Scott Warner is a Dodger fan, so we'll give him
Yep.
that. Let's go over a couple of headlines before Dan Forsman joins us here in a few minutes. As Wise Guys continues on this glorious Tuesday. The weather in Eugene, we heard Scott tell us a moment ago he doesn't think it's going to rain. Partly cloudy with a high of 68 on Saturday, and BYU is going to wear the Royal Satake uniforms, the white tops, white bottoms, royal trim with the royal helmets.
Isn't the news did I interpret this correctly or incorrectly? Is BYU just going royal all year for the fans?
I think the fans are, but the team's going to have some Navy in their game.
No. I know that, but what the fans,
right.
I think when I was listening to it the other day, they were saying, "Listen, let's just go royal all year. It's Kalani's favorite to go royal." So the fans, that stadium the other night in all royal looked amazing, and I think how that some years they have, hey, go white, let's go this section white, this section royal, let's have a blackout tonight. I think I heard him say, fans, we're gonna make it simple. Get your royal and let's go royal. So I'm hoping we see.
I think that's right.
I'm hoping we see dotted royal all over the place, and then we're going to know that BYU fans truly are kind of weasels, and I love that they're weasels and they'll get tickets.
One of the big questions floating around here, and will be right up to game time, is will Puka Nacua be wearing the Royal Satakis on Saturday and be back in the game? So it's Tuesday night.
Yeah.
They practiced today in the rain. We had pouring rain here this afternoon.
They went out and slogged around in it. Yep.
And they had a workout yesterday. There's a full workout tomorrow. Things lighten up Thursday. They fly out Friday, right?
They don't practice on Thursday.
Not at all?
Nope.
So
that's a new thing based on sports science.
So then it's just today and
lift
tomorrow.
And do all that, but they don't they have a pretty good workout on Friday.
Before they fly over.
I think, and then they have the game.
So what are you hearing? What are you hearing about Puka or Gunner?
I'm hearing Gunner's probably a little ways away, but the Puka's got a good chance to play. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay, so there you go. That's the answer we've got for you as of this Tuesday. Some news that came out as far as BYU and Wyoming. ESPN announcing that next Saturday's game here in Provo against the Cowboys, that's a 10:15 Eastern start, a late one, 8:15 local time on ESPN or ESPN2. It's late, but it's September. I'm okay with those. The weather's perfect.
This time is great.
2.4 million people watched on Saturday night. So do you think ESPN's going to go, we got 8:15 open, put the Cougs on?
Well, and if BYU goes up and beats Oregon on Fox on national television this weekend, lots of folks will tune into that 8:15 game against Wyoming.
Sure.
Go, man, is this BYU team for real? Look at this. And I think The Rock, the student section at BYU, I think they love those 8:15 games. They were going nuts the other night.
Yeah, it was fun.
They have their whole Saturday to go do whatever they want to do, and then they come out and they show up and are phenomenal and have an impact on the game. I think the student section likes 8:15.
The only home start time that remains TBA is the Arkansas game on October 15th. The Hogs are currently ranked 10th in the AP Top 25, so we'll see about that one. That could be a super mega showdown. They got Alabama 2 weeks before they come out here, and BYU has Notre Dame the week before they come out here.
Yep, so we'll see how that goes. If BYU's rolling into that game undefeated still, I don't know that Arkansas has to play Alabama before that. They're not going to be undefeated coming in, but what a matchup that could be. Another one with great national interest. So, hey, the men's hoop schedule, assistant coach Nick Robinson says 6 to 8 quad 1 and quad 2 out of conference games, which will correspond well with Gonzaga and St. Mary's games to support their schedule strength. Feeling really good about the strength of schedule.
We're going to have a lot of these games on BYU TV, which you and I will be on the call. Ottawa, Arizona is an exhibition game. So our first chance to see the guys is November 2nd. It's earlier and earlier every year. 2 days after Halloween, we got a live basketball game.
That's crazy. November 7th, Idaho State. That's also on BYU TV, 7 p.m.
At San Diego State will be a tough road test on November 11th.
Is that still Viejas down there?
Yeah.
The student section still called The Show, and they are good. November 16th, Missouri State at home on BYU TV.
Nicholls State on the 19th. That's a doubleheader day for us. We got the Utah Tech football game on BYU TV in the afternoon, and then we'll get a sandwich, and we'll go over to the Marriott Center. We'll call.
It seems like we have one doubleheader every year during the football basketball crossover, and we manage it, right? So
looking forward to it. Then they're going to the Bahamas, and we are not.
Right.
We're not happy about that.
I have protested this over and over, and nobody's listening to me.
Us.
They're going to play USC on the 23rd in the Bahamas, and then Butler or Tennessee on the 24th, and then the final on the 25th.
And they might play Kansas down there.
Yeah, the final on the 25th is to be determined based on the other side of that bracket. Like you said, could be Kansas.
Couple of nights at Vivint Arena because of Christmas around the world at the Marriott Center. November 29th, Westminster, and December 3rd against South Dakota.
And
both those
got
up there in
games.
Salt Lake.
Yeah, we've got them.
The South Dakota replaces the Utah State game, which fell off the map.
Yep. So December 7th, Utah Valley at home.
Mark Madsen, I saw him at church the other day, and we look forward to seeing he's rebuilding his big guys.
Yep, I see him. I'll tell you what, he's the greatest dad. Like, I see him out walking with the kids. He's got like one in a wagon, one on his back and a thing. He's carrying one on the front. Like, he's just.
It's a good thing he's big.
He's an amazing dad. So that's just really the most important thing you could possibly do in life, right?
Yeah.
He's also a great basketball coach. Okay, December 10th, Creighton down in Vegas.
Friends in Vegas.
Neutral site.
Alumni will be there for that one. December 15th, Western Oregon's here on BYU TV. We think we might get the Utah game on the 17th.
Yeah, on the 17th we'll see, but we could absolutely get that one.
A school named Lindenwood. I don't even know.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Lindenwood's all good on December 20th because it's on BYU TV.
For the holidays.
The 22nd, Weber State on BYU TV. And then WCC conference play begins on December 29th.
Yeah, so Mark Pope's group. He was on with us a couple weeks ago. The schedule's out. The team's back together, and we look forward to seeing them on November 2nd. We'll fire that up. Women's soccer news. The poll came out today. Despite the Cougs' struggles as of late, they're still in the top 25, hanging in at number 25. They're at Utah State Thursday. They host Utah Saturday night at 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain on BYU TV. That's a big one. They played some good teams. Utah Valley beat them the other day, which was a surprise. But they're still trying to figure out. They get replacing some mega firepower from a year ago, and maybe it's going a little tougher than than had hoped against some pretty good teams.
Yeah, and then how about women's volleyball? Number 15 BYU's at Utah on Thursday, 9 Eastern. That's on the Pac-12 network. The Cougs host Utah Valley on Saturday at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain on the BYU TV app. BYU's dropped 3 matches in a row. Very uncharacteristic for the women's volleyball team, but they were all to top 10 programs. And prior to that skid, they hadn't lost 3 in a row since 2010.
Yeah, they're going to be happy to be home and get some things going on. Our next guest is a 9-time winner on the PGA and Champions Tour. He's got he hit big putts on CBS to win playoffs and lived to tell about it. He missed putts on playoffs. He's lived to tell about that. It's our pleasure to welcome our friend Dan Forsman to the Wise Guys here in studio. Welcome.
Thanks, David. Good to be with you and Blaine.
See, the table is turned now. We're not at the golf course in your wheelhouse. Now you're in our wheelhouse.
Where you dominated us the last time we played.
Or every time.
I'm in over my head, I can tell you that.
No.
So what were you most nervous about coming into this interview?
Just when I got here, how professional you guys are. I love the set. I love all your staff and everybody. A lot goes on behind the scenes.
Did you notice all the Big 12 stuff up on the walls? We got all the Big 12 teams up on the walls. And
Blaine's got a cheerleader on the microphone.
yeah, she took a spill earlier, but we've got her secured
because she's
now.
balanced.
No, it's like if she's not where she's supposed to be, that's bad karma. It's not a big event unless there's cheerleaders.
Looks like some of the ones I saw Saturday night at the game.
So you were at the game. What'd you think?
Unbelievable. Phenomenal. Stayed the whole night. Got home late, of course, but it was worth it.
Can you imagine trying to hit a putt with that student section causing all that mayhem?
It was incredible.
Their quarterback had to make some passes, which were tough to do, and all that noise. And I was thinking, what would that be like having to hit an 8-foot putt to win a tournament in that environment?
Well, it might work on the Live Tour because they kind of thrive.
Yeah, they do kind of like that.
Whatever.
The PGA Tour, the marshals would have their signs up, and they'd probably say, "Please, if you can't be quiet, let this person play out." But that's the game of golf versus football.
Yeah, golf's a quiet sport. Occasionally, but
except for the Waste Management Open down in Phoenix,
except
doesn't
for
seem
that.
quiet. And I've been to that. That doesn't seem quiet.
When Tiger Woods is in the middle of it, it gets pretty loud.
Yeah.
When you tee off, and you know that every time you hit the ball, someone's going to scream, "Get in the hole," because they all seem to do it, and sometimes it seems like they do it before you actually hit the ball. Is it nerve-wracking? How do you block all that out, knowing that they're just waiting for your connection, and then everyone's going to start yelling?
Well, it can be distracting for sure. They try to quell that as quickly as they can because it's not really helpful for the competition. I mean, I watched a little the U.S. Open tennis the other day, and they're yelling and screaming before the serves, and they finally told them to calm down because now you're interfering with the players and the way they're able to play, and that's golf. Now, other sports, of course, BYU football, the louder the better.
Yeah,
it's part of it there. It's part of
absolutely.
it. It's part of the game. So describe to us, it's not easy. We know that to win on the PGA Tour. Help us understand just how difficult that is.
Well, that's a good point. I've won 5 times on the tour, so I played 29 years or so. That's not a very good ratio, but I can tell you that just getting your first one is huge and getting over the hump, and you always want to do that. And I know, unfortunately, you read the press every week, and so-and-so hasn't won a tournament. He's won a lot of money and done very well, of course, and has never gotten over the hump and tasted that victory. But once you do it, it seems to get a little bit easier.
So what's the feeling like when you've tapped in for a win and the cameras are waiting for you, the reporters standing there on CBS waiting for you to walk over? What's that feeling like?
I suppose the answer to that question depends on the stage. If you're making a putt to win it, you're euphoric. You feel like a space shuttle blasting off into outer space.
Yeah.
If you've got a 3 or 4 shot lead and you're coming in, you're just nervous to get it home, and hopefully you get on regulation and get your putt up close to the hole. You can tap in, and it's more relaxing. But
so is it surreal, or is it like, I just beat everybody?
it's surreal, I think. It's a little bit of both, I suppose. Clearly, that's your goal. You want to get in that hunt and feel those. As Tom Watson used to say, if I can't get any saliva in my mouth, that's usually a good sign.
That's the true sign of it's on, right?
Yeah.
So your 9 professional wins, 5 on the PGA Tour, including the Bay Hill Classic and the Buick Open. Tiger Woods came on tour in '96, right after you finished tied for 13 at the U.S. Open. So your career, like, it spanned pre-Tiger and then all of Tiger, really. In what ways did you see him change the game of golf?
Well, he brought a lot of diversity to the game. I thought, you could just tell the galleries were full of all kinds of ethnic diversity, and that was great to see. He brought a magnetism to the game. His heroics were, undescribable, really. He hit the ball a long way. He had all the facets of the game. His short game was impeccable. He seemed like he never missed a putt, and I think Hale Irwin said he putted unconscionably, I think is the quote he said at one point. So, I mean, it was exciting, and we knew he was coming. I saw him at the Masters when I was there, when he was just a 18 or 19-year-old, and where they told me he hit the drive, for instance, on number 2 there, par 5. They said he hit 9 under the green. Everyone's like, what?
How's that possible?
There's no way. Well, then they said at the BYU Cougar Classic, which he participated in, Riverside Country Club, he's hitting 3 wood on the 16th green. So I'd never gotten to the bunker with a driver. So, I mean, that was pretty eye-opening to me. And when I saw some of the, the results of where he was placing the ball, he obviously had a super talent that was unmatched.
What was it like when you're grouped with him? And again, he's just coming on, but he started winning. I was a reporter in Vegas when he won Vegas. His very first, the Las Vegas Invitational was his first win. Then he goes over to Phoenix and hits a hole-in-one or something. It was just, but when most everybody in the world will never be opposite Tiger Woods in a grouping in a tournament, but you have. What's it like?
Well, it was the final round of the U.S. Open at Olympia Fields in Chicago, one of your favorite towns, and it was the Sunday round, and I got on the first tee, and he was very cordial. Tiger's a gentleman to play with, truly he is. He's very aware of the distractions, all of his followers. And on the first tee, I can tell you there must have been 50 cameras lined up, power winders, and every time he took his pencil and put it in his putt, the power winders are firing. So it was clear that it was going to be an exceptional day for me to witness. And he didn't play his best that day, but he had some shots that under that kind of U.S. Open challenge were hard to forget. The one that came to mind was the 17th hole, par 3. It was about 240 yards. He had a forehand that was into the sun, and no one could see it, but it landed about 6 feet from the hole, and the whole place just erupted down there. It sounded like a BYU touchdown last Saturday night. So.
But now you're beating him, and so what? He's got the pressure of all the cameras and all that stuff, and you're over there. You're over there having a better day. Is that weird?
No, he had an off day, I think, that day. I don't remember the result, frankly. But as I say, he was just a gentleman every time I had a chance to play with him, and he comported himself, with great distinction. And he understands what he means to the game of golf. And I was just really, really impressed, and always have been, the way he operates himself.
I was at the Masters this last year, and we followed Tiger a little bit. He had just come back from the injury. He wasn't 100% healthy, obviously. When he's trying to come up the hill, as you finish, you come up the hill at Augusta National. It's not easy to walk it, especially not 4 days in a row, right? And on a bad wheel. But the crowds were just ridiculous, and just swarming around and running and trying to just get a peek. I can't imagine how difficult that would be to focus and try to play golf with all of that going on around you. How does he done it for all this time?
Well, it started early for him, didn't it? I mean, we won the 3 junior titles, U.S. juniors, and then he went on to win the U.S. Amateur 3 times in a row. And he had to deal with all of that at a very early age. And I think skill to do comes from doing, and I think that's how he was able to handle it. And his father, of course, is documented. He was influential in getting him to understand pressure and dealing with it and being able to perform under those circumstances. So,
PGA and Champions Tour golfer and Provo resident, and our friend Dan Forsman's on the Wise Guys. His BYU story is coming up, and it's awesome. But in 1997, so Tiger's the defending champion, and this isn't a Tiger Woods interview, but he's the defending champion at the Walt Disney World Classic. He's tied for 26th. You and David Duval march into a playoff. You've got him on the ropes, but a chip shot goes wrong, and Duval beats you by 1 shot. And afterwards, you were quoted in the New York Times as saying, "My hands were shaking before that chip." Describe that pressure.
That's a good reminder. David Duval was number 1 in the world at the time and had won just about everything going into the Disney that fall. We got in the playoff, and the pin was back left on kind of a hogback green, and if you know anything about Florida, they have this wiry Bermuda grass, and my ball had just trickled over the fringe into the back corner. I was no more than 15 feet from the flag, but I was in this really thick bird's nest lie, and I didn't know how to play the shot. I didn't know if I'd lob it, went out hard and tried to flop it, or if I could just get the leading edge underneath the ball and kind of get it skidding. So I went to the latter, and it came out soft and didn't get there, and I missed the putt for par. So he was able to defeat me with a par of his own.
So were you shaking?
Yeah, I was.
Was there that kind of pressure? I mean,
in,
it's just the two of you, the gallery, the world watching, and you've got a chip shot that you're not sure how it's going to go.
Yeah, my kids over there saying, "Oh, I'd like to have you get a hold of that Mickey Mouse trophy too." They were pretty young, so it was going to be pretty exciting. But no, I was nervous only because I didn't make a very good decision. I was kind of caught between. Anytime you do that in golf or anything in life, it's hard to, you got to be firm in your decision making. And I kind of just got a little bit flustered, I suppose.
One of the other things we noticed is that David Duval's check for winning that was $270,000. That's what it was. Tony Finau, on the other hand, he just won $1.5 million the other day for winning this year's 3M Open, or a few weeks ago. Next year, the PGA Tour will pay out $415 million in prize money. I mean, it's phenomenal where it's come. And that's not that many years that prize money's gone from $270 to $1.5 million. That $415 million in purses. How has golf gone from there to here in that short period of time?
Well, that's a really good question. The irony of that statement you just made is that they're trying to do that in order to prevent those players from leaving the PGA Tour and now going on to LIV, which seems to have an abundance, endless supply of money. Good question. I think golf has been, through the years, it's had this natural progression with the great stars of the past. You go to Billy Casper, to Jack Nicklaus, to Gary Player, to on down the line, Jack Nicklaus, obviously, and Arnold Palmer, my gosh. And, they built this reputation and this ability to sort of elevate the game of golf in the world of sport, and in terms of really appealing to a commercial side as well. I mean, they do feedback on this, and a lot of people like to play golf. The older people enjoy the chance to get together, as we did recently when you all played together. And
I don't know if I should take offense. He said the older people, and then he said that's what we did.
No, not speaking old for you guys.
We're old,
but the dynamics are.
I'm just gonna have to. I'm gonna have to wrap my head around it.
We're not on the Champions Tour, but we are old.
We are not.
But I think all of it together, and it has a good image by and large. They play by the rules, and there's strict rules, and if you break a rule, you have to typically call it on yourself, and that's integrity. I think that appeals to a lot of people, and guy would rather lose a tournament than win it knowing he'd broken a rule. Yeah, and I think that is helpful. And then you got some great stars. I mean, Tiger Woods, my gosh, and Rory McIlroy, and Ernie Els, and Phil Mickelson before them. I mean, it's fraught with a lot of excitement, and the tournaments are exciting. And let's face it, we've all been there with that 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 foot putt on 18 for all the marbles.
To win the Masters, right? That's what we say.
No matter who you are, we in our own worlds. And you did that the other day and knocked that right in the heart. Remember?
Yeah, that was
pretty sweet.
That was pretty sweet, but I didn't have any cameras or gallery or prize money.
You've mentioned so the competition, you win the prize money, you do all that, and you mentioned a couple times this LIV Tour, and I'm a traditionalist, so I'm not a fan of it. You don't even have to go out and win to make hundreds of millions of dollars. There's not a cut. They're only playing 3 days. There's some things about it that really bother me, but I'm old school. I'm a traditionalist. What's your thoughts on this new LIV Tour?
I feel much the same as you do. I think tradition of the game has been, you get out there, you go to if you don't get your tour card, now you go to the Korn Ferry Tour. Patrick Fishburne, this young BYU star who's coming up, we're pulling for him to get out there, and he's got the talent to be there. But, and that's sort of the feeder tour to the PGA Tour. And then once you get out there, you try to get out and get a tournament victory and establish yourself and rise as your game rises. And that's kind of been the history. Now, here comes it's Mohammed bin Salman, is that his MBS?
Yeah, I do. I am.
Who brings all this money to the table. And Greg Norman, of course, who's obviously another superstar and took over the reins of that and gave it credibility. And now, with what they've done, established in terms of the money they're paying those guys, it's hard for them not to say yes, I suppose. But I don't wonder, deep down, as they're laying awake, just ready to sleep at night, they think about it. They wonder if they're making the right choice, frankly. I know money's great for them and their families and all that, but it just seems anathema to what golf has been to this point.
Let's go back a few years when golf was pure. You played your college golf at Arizona State, but you got a BYU story that forever links you with Hall of Fame coach Carl Tucker, Riverside Country Club, with your wife Trudy, and with your boys Richard and Thomas. That gives you a BYU story, and that way makes it more than appropriate to be on the Wise Guys tonight. But tell us what happened.
Carl Tucker, one of the great
and I was his paper boy
coaches.
during all this time.
Were you?
I love
Pro
Carl.
Daily Herald.
Love Carl
Did he tip
Tucker.
you?
No, he didn't.
Oh, shame on him.
Seriously.
No golf balls? No nothing? No cougar
Nothing,
golf
not a
balls?
thing.
Gee.
Wow.
I know.
That surprises me. He's very generous. But no, he obviously, I was at school at Arizona State at the time, and we were in the WAC. So we saw BYU's a very exceptional golf program. Oh, my gosh. And his tradition of coaching for the Cougars goes without saying. It's phenomenal. Had a number of great players and great records, and won the NCAA one year at Stanford. I played in that event that week, and I think we finished third that year. But anyway, I came up for the Pacific Coast Amateur Golf Tournament here at Riverside Country Club.
Right.
We were the host of the tournament that year, the state that hosted, and Lynn Bell was a good friend of my wife Trudy's father, Lum Hawley. He was one of the founding members out there at Riverside, and he was an elder gentleman. This one fellow named Jim Frost came from Seattle area, from the Washington contingent to play in the tournament, and he had a heart condition. He was worried about the altitude and the heat, so he thought he was going to maybe be susceptible to some kind of a heart condition. And so Lynn Bell, the tournament director, asked Lum if his daughter would come out and drive his cart for him, because in the USGA rules you can't drive your own golf cart and play in the tournament. So sure enough, she agreed to it, and she came out and drove the cart for Jim Frost. And on the 10th hole, I saw Coach Tucker there, and I'd known him from the days with the WAC and the golf we played in my freshman year. And he said, "Hi, Trudy." And Trudy was taking a tennis class from him that summer. And so he said, "You know Dan?" And she said, "No, well, we met in his group." But I said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." Frankly, candidly, I thought it was just an older guy dating a younger girl. We see that a bit
Right.
in the world, at golf and anywhere. But just a charming young lady. And afterward, I found out she wasn't dating him, and had a chance to. She invited us, my friend and I, over to their home in Springville for a hamburger, and showed us Hobble Creek, which was gorgeous.
Oh, a gem.
Canyon up there. She wanted to show some of the sights, and we went up and saw Bridalveil Falls, and just was as sweet as could be, just showing us around. And it was really at that point that sort of spark sort of started.
So this golf event and this chance meeting on the 10th hole. And Carl introducing the two of you, and so you joined the church, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, 2 kids, been married how many years now?
My wife should tell me this, but it's let's see, 82, I guess it was. So what's that?
30 or 40?
Calculator.
40 something.
40.
Long time.
Feels like newlyweds.
Good answer. Good save.
Yeah, thank you.
All because of the great game of golf.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Because you're just the kid in Tempe doing your thing, and now you're up in Provo for this thing. And isn't it interesting as you go back and connect the dots of your life, how it all came to be?
Incredible. It's tender mercies, I think, Dave. I've never been to Utah. It was a gorgeous state. Couldn't get over it. The people were wonderful. The tournament was a great success. I didn't play particularly well, but I win the tournament. I won a beautiful young lady's heart.
You won a wife.
Yeah,
you got that going for you.
We're not going to call Trudy a trophy wife.
I don't know.
But you guys and Trudy and Dan got married the year before we did. We're at 39 this year.
Is that right?
And now Brendan, Trudy, and
like
Dan and I hang out at the pool together. So
well, it's awesome, and it's just great. It's just great how golf has done that for you, and because of golf, we all hang out now, and because of golf, your wife and my wife are conspiring to cut down a tree near our house, which I like.
Man.
Which every day I get to see the trees up. I go, well, they weren't together last night, so the tree's still up. But it is fun how relationships and lives are brought together when a few moons ago you're in New York, I've grown up in Orem, you're in Arizona.
Sports really brought all of us together.
Yeah.
And sports is woven into the fabric of all of our society, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are gems. I just want to say I've enjoyed your show. I love After Further Review as well. It's amazing what you guys do. It's really...
You're kind of a BYU fan now, too,
Yeah.
right? I know you're a Sun Devil,
converted you over to
but there's room for both.
quick story. Got a sec?
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
we got all night.
Okay, Baylor fans sitting right in front of us. I went with my daughter-in-law's father, Lynn Hart, and we
Yeah.
went to the game. And the Baylor fans sitting right in front of us, and they had the Baylor. I said, "You folks from Texas?" "Yes, we are." And I said, "How do you ever been to Utah?" "No, never have." So how you enjoying it? "Oh, it's just been unbelievable. We love it here." Is it always like this? You know, all
The whole
excitement?
environment,
Oh
right?
my gosh! I said, "Yeah, well, it pretty much is." I mean, this is kind of the Cougars. And he said, "I got to tell you, when they came down to Waco last year, they had more fans there than we did." But
Yeah.
anyway, the end result, great game, and the guy was obviously disappointed. But I said, "You know what? Hey, you guys, you should be proud. Your team was great, and Cougars got you this time." But he said, "Wow, this has just been an incredible experience." He really couldn't say enough about it, and I thought it was really cool.
That is cool. That is cool. Now they're playing Oregon on Saturday. So roll out 3 keys for the Cougars
Yeah,
to
we're
win.
asking everybody for the 3 keys to a Cougar win.
Then we got 5 quick questions for you.
Well, that defense was incredible. BYU defense, I thought, was amazing. And Jaron Hall looked to me, when he gets the time to throw and those receivers, he's pinpoint. But the running game needs to maybe get a little more.
Yeah, they got to run the ball.
So
Be a nice
So continue to play defense the way they did. Jaron throw the ball, but add a running game to that, and then
I think they got
and
a
then they
great
come
shot.
they come out of Oregon with a win. I like it. So
Are you ready for 5
Yep.
questions?
Yes, sir.
These are rapid fire.
you've heard these because you were here when we
and he
went through
listens
this
to
with
our
you.
show.
Yeah.
I love your show.
So, but we changed the last couple to be more specific for so favorite sports.
Hang
movie.
on, before we get there, Corey Yoshimura from Japan wants to know favorite Masters memory and thoughts on the changes to 11 at Augusta.
Oh, because by the way, Corey, I've told you about Corey.
Yeah, I've met him. in fact.
Yeah, you met
Great
Corey,
guy.
so he's
Yeah,
Hey,
super nice.
So what do you think?
he's running the PGA Asia.
Well, that's a tough one. Probably Tiger's win along with Tiger and Jack. When Jack won in '86 and Tiger's win his first time, those two are beyond memorable for me.
What about your favorite
My favorite,
memory at the Masters when you're there playing?
when I won Bay Hill, it got me the chance to play at Augusta for the first time. And then Mr. Palmer said to me at the presentation of the trophy,
Mr. Palmer.
said, "Dan, I'd like you to join me for a practice round at Augusta on Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning."
Oh
I
wow,
said, "Mr. Palmer, I'll be there." And
That's
I
pretty
can never
amazing.
forget it. We went around and they loved him like nobody has ever been loved. And he was as gracious and as kind to everybody and signed autograph. He had pen marks all over his arms and shirts. And he was just the classiest guy of all time. It was really memorable.
that's really cool.
Mr. Palmer.
So to get to the Masters the first time, you won Bay Hill, which is Arnie's tournament.
Yep.
And then he practiced round with you in your first. Oh, that's very
It was
cool.
unbelievable.
That's a great memory.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So, and then he said, "What about the changes to 11?"
Oh, 11. Yeah. Oh, it's too long.
It's too long now.
for me.
Yeah. It's
They
not
made
too
it
long.
longer? Oh,
my
Corey's a
gosh.
long ball hitter, so it's okay with Corey. And the guys like Hideki's his boy, and Corey,
Great boy.
Corey, you got to remind me of the new amateur, the young guy that's coming up over in Japan. That is like when we were following him around, I can't believe it. He was out hitting Brooks Koepka, and he kept saying, "Man, Brooks hits it long."
There he is
And we're
right
saying,
there. Kita
Yeah.
Nakajima.
Keita Nakajima.
Keita Nakajima.
So Keita was out driving Brooks, but then when we talked to Keita, he was like, "Man, Brooks hits it far," and we're all going, "But you hit it farther." He's not used to having anybody be anywhere near him. He's a phenomenal player. That's a guy to watch for. Keita Nakajima is Corey's wonder boy
Is
that's
that
coming up in
Tommy
Japan.
Nakajima's son? I think it might be.
Is it Tommy Nakajima's son, Corey? You have to answer us on that one too. So,
It's pretty. I heard he's
but
got a really good son.
amazing young player.
Just turned pro
So he
this
just
week.
turned pro. He's the top amateur
Not
in
his son.
Asia.
It's
So,
not his son.
okay, cool. Thanks
Thanks,
for that
Corey.
info. Okay, now we'll get back to our
Yeah.
5 questions. Favorite sports movie for Dan?
It's got to be Field of Dreams.
Nice.
That's the
a
first one that's
classic.
said that, and I love. It's like
The Cubs won this summer at the Field of Dreams game.
Yes.
It's one of our only
Way to
wins.
go.
I just love how he says the mememories will be so thick you'll have to brush them away from your face. James Earl Jones.
I like that.
People
You-
will
you
come,
wanna have
Ray.
a catch
People
down.
will come.
You want to have a catch?
Yeah.
You can't
That's
have
good
a tear of that one.
Yep.
That's pretty.
So, favorite band or singer?
Well, I always liked Chicago in high school.
All right.
Peter
And I
Cetera.
was walking down.
They're still
the street
singing.
One
Yeah,
day.
They're still singing today.
Man
Favorite
came
breakfast cereal?
I'm a Cheerios original guy. And pretty
Interesting.
basic.
Still
So
after all these years.
The only way you can make Cheerios good is you have to put like 4 tablespoons of sugar on.
Seriously.
Strawberries and blueberries. will do.
Okay, with strawberry.
That's a healthy choice.
That's with strawberries and blueberries.
All right,
Okay.
your favorite golf course in the world?
aside from Riverside Country Club.
Aside from
Yeah. Well, that's because of the company you keep over
That's
there.
exactly. Well, I've always said if I had one round to play, I'd want to play Pebble Beach.
in the whole
Nice.
world, Pebble
Yeah.
Beach.
My
You played
my-
there many times.
I have.
I've played there a few, and I don't get to play in a tournament like you do, but it drives me nuts because it's the most beautiful golf course ever, and it takes 6 hours to play it.
That's no fun.
Drives me crazy. So I just have to take a breath and take it all in and remind myself of how gorgeous it is out there.
It is.
So, most satisfying golf victory.
Good question. Probably the first one because you're just getting over the hump. Getting that.
What was that? Was it the Honda?
It was
What
the Quad
it?
Cities Open.
Quad
and-
Cities.
and it's now the John Deere Classic.
Okay.
PGA Tour.
Nice.
I made about a 8-foot bogey putt. It was a tough finishing hole, pretty tight. And Bob Tway was on fire. He'd won 4 or 5 times that year, and I was playing with him on Sunday and happened to knock that in to seal it by one. It was pretty.
That's pretty cool.
Felt pretty good to see that ball disappear.
Oh my gosh! And the bumpiest green that had Poe in it. It was all.
So
The,
I'm gonna give you a sixth one because we're gonna still ask
Yeah.
you this last one. But who's your favorite? You played with Arnie, so I'm just gonna assume that was your coolest person you've played with. But who's number 2? Or maybe there is somebody that was more fun to play with than Arnie, or was cooler to you to play with. Favorite playing partner of all time?
playing partner. Well, Jack Nicklaus, of course, was unbelievable. I'd say the Golden Bear.
The Golden Bear.
Jack Nicklaus.
Yep.
And he was nice.
Incredible. Yeah, he's so focused. He's oblivious. I had a great story in Canada when we were playing there, and he hit these shots, and he was clanking them. He was getting pretty old. He's 46 or 7, or maybe 8 or 9, whatever. But he'd never won the Canadian Open, been runner-up 6 times, 5 or 6 or 7 times. And of course, he designed Glen Abbey up in Toronto, and he's clanking this wood in the middle of the river on about the 13th hole, and he says to his caddy, Steve Nicklaus, says, Steve, where's that ball? And he said, Dad, it's in the river. In the river? You got to be kidding me. That's unbelievable. You could tell it was in the river the moment we hit it. There was no way it was going to clear. And so he just made double bogey there, and he was going to miss the cut, and he just flipped a switch. He got that laser focus. He birdies like the last 5 holes to make the cut on the nose or by 1. And he gets done. He sits at the scoring table. He says, here, ma'am, take this ball. That's a collector's item. She says, oh, Mr. Nicklaus, why is that? He says, that's the worst ball I've ever hit in my life. I'll never use that ball again. In other words, it was the ball's fault.
It was the ball's fault.
Oh man.
Absolutely.
I loved his last Masters win. That was epic. So pretty cool.
Tremendous.
Okay, you gonna give him the last one, Dave?
Oh, yeah, the bonus question. Favorite 2 guys to play golf with?
Blaine Fowler or Dave McCann?
That's correct.
Who else is there?
We had a bell would ring it.
Yes, so
When we hang out, you are very patient with us as we play, but we eat a lot of lunches and hang out, and it's first class.
You guys are doing
Yeah,
amazing.
Hey,
Love it.
I love hanging out with Dan Trudy at the pool because that's just chill. When we're out on the course, I feel like I got to keep up with him, which is impossible because he kicked our butts on the back 9 the last time we played.
So are you?
birdied 18 though? That was.
I did birdie 18. Which
Are
was
you
nice.
thinking you'll be out on the Champions Tour next year?
I might have a chance a couple of weeks at Pebble. I'm getting
Okay.
closer, but it's been
And
hard
you-
this year. Been right on the edge of getting in. It's been a little bit frustrating.
And for people that don't know, you had to come back from an injury of your own. You had a shoulder issue
I did.
and had to have surgery, right? And then rehab that, and that's not fun at our age to try to come back from that and get back in professional golf. But you're right close to getting back in there, right?
Yeah, injuries are hard. It's. I don't know how with your throwing that football, if you get a shoulder that's sore, boy, I tell you, golf's no different. You've got to get through that ball, and if you're flinching a little bit, or you're not weak, or you're weak and don't feel like yourself, it can be tough. It can make it a lot harder.
Well, the thing about the Champions Tour is you got to be 50 or older to play on it, and you play on it, which means you're in the top 80 or 90 golfers in the entire world who get a chance to play on the Champions Tour, and I think that's awesome because most everybody will never come close. And so if you get to Pebble, great, or into next week or into next year. But, man, you tee off in those things, you're still in the top 80 in the entire world of guys who are playing golf 50 and up. I think that's awesome.
Speaking of the Champions Tour, BYU's own Joey Summerhays qualified again. He's playing this week in Sioux Falls, so all you BYU faithful.
There you go.
Sioux
keep an eye on-
Falls.
keep an eye
Summerhays
on
is
Joey
one of the great
Summerhays.
golf families of Utah.
Oh, big golf family.
Yep.
Okay, that's it. Was
Wishing him
that
luck.
was that easier than you thought it was going to be?
You guys are True professionals.
Come on.
Very comfortable.
You know your stuff.
Thank you.
The great Dan Forsman.
Dan, thanks so much.
A
for
professional
coming
golfer
with us.
and just first class human being, and so you're welcome on here anytime.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Maybe and next year, next summer when you're hitting the tour spots, maybe we'll do a remote. As you're in Michigan getting ready for Wednesday's Pro-Am, we'll get you on Wise Guys. We'll talk about the strategy. We'll give you some advice. Calm your nerves.
I'm going to need some tips before that happens.
Some tips. We'll give you some tips. Don't pay any attention to them, but we'll give you some.
From us, so.
Sounds like great.
All right, awesome.
Thanks so much, Dan. Appreciate you coming
Appreciate
on.
it.
Final minutes of the Wise Guys here tonight. We got to do a couple of things in networks. We've gone over time, but you know what the great thing about this show is? We can pretty much do what we want.
Yeah, but we're gonna push a ton of this stuff. We had a bunch of stuff, but
let's do our picks.
We'll cover it next week. The things we have to get in are our picks.
Let's do our picks. So far in the season, you're 14-5.
Yeah. So I'm
17-2.
Yeah, that's just because I just chose some with my heart, not in knowing that they wouldn't win.
Well, Houston and Texas Tech last week, that's a toss-up.
Yeah.
And it went into overtime.
Yeah.
Texas Tech ended up picking that up. So, all right, for this week, number 1, Georgia at South Carolina.
I think Georgia has turned the tide, and they're the best program in college football. I think there's the changing of the guard. Georgia is the best football team in the country, not Alabama. Georgia's going to win going away.
Alabama didn't look great against Texas, and then in the fourth quarter, their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback played like one, and then he was phenomenal, and they squeaked that one
Georgia,
out.
2 years in a row, is the best tackling team I've ever seen in college football. They're just too good.
Oklahoma is number 6. They're at Nebraska. Remember when this used to be the Big 8 championship game?
And I feel bad because you and I did a game at Nebraska, and, man, I love their fans. I feel bad for them. They deserve better.
They're a terrible football team.
They just fired their coach in the middle of the season. And so it's a bit in disarray. I'd love to see Nebraska back in the higher echelon of college football, but Oklahoma's going to work them.
Okay, a few more. Cal's at Notre Dame. I put that in there because it's interesting.
Yeah,
Cal's quarterback's out for the year. They just lost at home to Marshall. They're 0-2.
Notre Dame's quarterback's out for the year.
They just lost. They're 0-2. They're not near what they were chasing 3 weeks ago because they were going to be a national contender. So now Cal's coming into South Bend. I have a hard time thinking Notre Dame's going to go 0-3 no matter the circumstances. But the Irish are down. Marshall came in there and put the hurt on them.
I still think Notre Dame's going to get things back together and win that.
I do too. But had it been a better team coming in, but this next one's a tough one. Number 11, Michigan State is in Seattle at Washington.
And Washington's not easy to beat at home. I just think Michigan State has too much firepower. They're number 11 in the country. I got Michigan State.
Okay, I'm gonna go Washington on that one. Here's another one. Number 13, Miami is at number 24, Texas A&M. A&M just lost to Appalachian State. I think I'm saying that right. Appalachian State.
The Sun Belt just worked the P5s last week.
But I'm not sold on Miami either.
No, I know, and it's at A&M. So does A&M have a bounce back?
I think so.
A&M's ranked number 24 still. Miami's ranked number 13. I'm going to choose an upset here and say A&M gets it back together.
Yeah, I am too on that one. San Diego State is at number 14. Utah, the Aztecs beat Cam Rising and the Utes last year. They played after BYU beat them. And they went down to San Diego. Now they have them up there in Salt Lake, where clothing apparently is optional for fans.
Let's not even. That's a whole show that we have to talk about.
My word, come on.
Can you walk into a stadium nude in Utah?
I guess if you have a shirt painted on and no one wants to say anything, I don't know.
Okay, we're not getting into that, but that just blows me away. I am going to say that Utah's going to win that, but it's going to be closer than people think because San Diego State is physical and plays D. So Utah wins in a close one.
Yeah, I'll be pulling for the Aztecs. Fresno State, which is always tricky, they're going to L.A., and they're going to play USC, which appears to be rolling.
Yeah, I'm taking SC.
Yeah. And then BYU and Oregon, we already made our picks on AFR today.
What was your score that you picked?
I had 24-17. You went a little higher.
I went 31-24. I've got BYU winning 31-24.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, a couple of things on this day in history that because they're significant. 1969 Scooby-Doo debuts on CBS.
Yeah, that's very, very important. Hey, and by the way, first New York City Marathon, my home state, 1970.
And you go back to 1501, Michelangelo started his work on the statue of David.
And
this day in 1501. I've been to Vegas. I've seen it in Vegas.
Oh, my gosh.
3-year project. Where did he stay in Vegas when he was down there?
You can't say that you...
Was he at the Tropicana when he was doing that?
You can't say that you've seen the Eiffel Tower because you went to Vegas or that you've seen Bellagio because... My man, you need to go to Italy. I'm taking you and Diane to Italy. Where you
Well,
belong.
when we retire, well, maybe we'll take the wise guys.
No, we'll do
there.
the Wise Guys from Italy on location.
Hey,
so.
September 13th is the birthday of Milton S. Hershey in 1857. The Hershey chocolate
Yep, that's right. Hershey chocolate
empire.
And here's the. Does everybody remember in 1996 what happened on September 13th? I'm sure Dan Forsman remembers.
I remember.
this.
I drove right past it.
That's when Tupac Shakur got shot.
It was right after a Tyson fight at the
Yep.
MGM.
On the strip.
I'm driving back to the station, and I see all the flashing police lights, and it's a big scene. I'm wondering. I remember looking in my rearview mirror, going, "What
what's your
is going
favorite
on
Tupac
down
song?
there?" I don't have a Tupac song, but
DJ, what's yours? Is it California? Ambitions as a writer?
I'm stunned that you even have a Tupac favorite song. What's yours? Go ahead.
California knows how to party.
Yeah.
California knows how to party.
Look, I saw the scene of Tupac's last night.
Last time I was in Compton, I had a BMW soft top. I put the top down. I blasted California and I drove through Compton. I'm lucky I got out of there alive.
Am I supposed to believe that?
That happened. I'm lucky I got out of there alive.
September 13th, 1965, the Beatles released Yesterday.
Oh, man.
And then in 1997, Elton John releases Candle in the Wind, which was his tribute to the late Princess Diana.
Oh, was that Princess Diana? That's right. He remade it.
Wasn't it? Princess
I thought he was to...
I thought maybe it was
to
Marilyn Monroe, but maybe he did
and then
that.
he redid it for Princess Diana. I think
he could have done it
that's
because he's from over there.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that was it. All right, we've got a Lavelle Edwards quote as we always do,
Yep.
and then we'll ride right out of here.
We'll be out of here. So, Lavelle, he says, Jim McMahon, a great natural leader, great ability, great presence. For a guy who was supposed to be blind in one eye, he had as much vision as anyone I've ever seen. He'd know instinctively where he should turn and where he should throw the ball. He was never a problem on the field. He was kind of cocky, but that didn't bother me. He had such a quick delivery and such a natural ability. I told Chicago he'd win them a Super Bowl.
And in 1986, the Bears beat the Patriots 46-10.
And Jim was phenomenal. And the defense on that's the best defense in the history of football at any level.
Yeah.
Was the 1986 Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears, the 46 Buddy Ryans.
Next week on The Wise Guys, Margin Hooks will join us, Austin Colley will join us, and Ed Eyestone, Olympian, national champion, head coach, cross-country coach at BYU.
Husband of Lynn.
It's a big three next week.
And the guy that used to give me a hassle every time I went jogging because he lived around the corner. We've always lived around the corner. He lived around the corner from me in Kaysville and in Layton, and now he lives around the corner from me in Provo.
Maybe you should call the police.
Ed and I stick together. That's what we do.
We're going to roll out with Caleb Chapman. BYU won, so as a tradition here on The Wise Guys. Caleb was here a few weeks ago, played Rise and Shout on his saxophone, and that's what we're going to do right now. And then we'll say goodbye in like 35 seconds.
We'll see y'all next week.
All right, fire him up. There we go. He threw some New Orleans area. At the
I
end,
love the end of that, baby. That is
thing up.
something. So,
all right, we'll see you Saturday on game day ahead of BYU and Oregon, and then next week right here for more Wise Guys. Podcast will be up tomorrow. You can catch us on YouTube, of course, on ysguys.com, on Twitch. Tell your friends about us. Subscribe, and we're going to be together for a long, long time. Good night, everyone.
see you next week.